Chapter 465. He didn't chase? Evil spirit old ancestor ran really quickly, and in the blink of an eye, he was far away. Only when he was sure that the kid didn't follow did he heave a sigh of relief. He didn't think that he couldn't beat the kid. He just didn't want to tire himself out. Damn kid, do you really think that I can't kill you? If I really go all out, I will teach you a lesson. Evil spirit old ancestor was furious and had never expected that he would face such a situation. His position in Evil Alliance was that of an ancestor and no one dared to behave arrogantly in front of him. But the situation was a little complicated. He had personally tested the kid's strength, and it was indeed really terrifying. For someone at Tao Realm Stage 3 to have such strength was something that had never appeared in the world. He couldn't be left alive. If he didn't take him to heart, one day a really terrifying thing would happen. It would be even more terrifying than Lin Wani's. Lin Wani's identity was that of a normal commoner. He didn't have any status, nor did he have any backing. He was able to grow to the point where even the top sex and the older generation, who had lived for hundreds of years, couldn't compete with him. Thus, to them, how Lin Wani became strong was a mystery. Evil spirit old ancestor felt that he was the one who understood Lin Fan's strength the most. Other people didn't understand him, so he felt a little less pressure. He wanted to spread this news back. Even if the battle between Evil Alliance and Celestial Alliance was so intense, they couldn't ignore Lin Fan's existence. In the void in the distance, Lin Fan was really cunning and sneakily followed behind. He didn't get too close as with evil spirit old ancestor's strength. He wouldn't be able to sense whether or not there was someone behind him. That little old man really ran away. He thought that the old man would think of a way to turn around and kill him. Who knew that he didn't have any guts at all and just ran? How embarrassing. But thinking about it, it was understandable. People from the demon path would definitely run if they said they would. How could they turn around and ask for trouble? Lin Fan followed evil spirit old ancestor to see whether or not he could do anything. But looking at the situation, he was going to be disappointed. He had a use for keeping evil spirit old ancestor alive. Apart from providing rage points, he could also use evil spirit old ancestor to promote himself. He needed enemies now, and if he killed evil spirit old ancestor, he would be able to head to those top sects and shout for them to do what he did. Thinking about it, he felt that it was a little silly and pointless. He was at the border between the Celestial Alliance and Evil Alliance. Battles between Tao Realm experts happened frequently, but it was difficult for more people to die in battles between Tao Realm experts. Usually, those who died were those below the domain realm. Lin Fan didn't think so much and continued to head into the distance. He wanted to understand the exact situation and see what the relationship between the four alliances was like. Celestial Alliance, Guixian Island. Since Su Yuanming went to White Lotus St. Purity Mountain to talk to Guiyuan, he had been thinking about what to do. He was taking a risk and asking a tiger for its skin. How could he trust the alliance? But after thinking about it, he realized that there was no other way. He could only protect himself. There was no need to think too much about other things. So, during the Celestial Alliance meeting, Su Yuanming remained silent. Occasionally, he would say something to show that he still existed. They could discuss strategies and he would just watch. Sect leader, Evil Alliance's attacks are a little intense. Are we really not going to attack? Guixian Island Elder asked. He could faintly feel that the sect master was different from before after his return. In the past, the sect master was the one who attacked. Now that he was so calm, it made him feel a little uncomfortable. Su Yuanming said, "There is no rush. Let's wait. The situation is really complicated. Let's just wait and see." The elder thought about it. Sect leader, did something happen? No, don't think too much. This is a crucial moment and one move will affect everything. Guixian Island not only has to face Evil Alliance but also Monster Alliance. We can't be careless. Su Yuanming didn't want to tell others about this. Moreover, he wasn't sure what problems it would bring if he told others. The elders of Guixian Island were more inflexible. If they knew that he and Guiyuan were working with the Alliance and conned the four alliances, they wouldn't be able to take it. They might even leak it out. When that happened, the situation would be really bad. The elder looked at Su Yuanming as though he had discovered something. Sect Master, we are all elders of the sect. No matter what, we are all thinking for the sect. If Sect Master has something on his mind, there's no harm in telling us. Su Yuanming smiled. It is okay. To be able to become an elder, which one of them wasn't smart. Their hearts were like a mirror and they could see further than anyone else. Naturally, he could see that the sect leader's attitude had changed. Something must have happened, otherwise this wouldn't have happened. Did sect leader head over to Buddha Alliance and something happened? The elder thought about it and felt that it was possible. Maybe he would be able to find out from White Lotus St. Purity Mountain's attitude. Imperial Dynasty. Your Majesty, recently there have been many cases of people disappearing from the palace. I think that we should strengthen the defenses in case they harm Your Majesty. Zhu Xiang said. Recently, the Imperial Dynasty had lost people. They sent people to search, but it was as if they had disappeared from the world. There were no clues at all. King Wudong was calm. Let's do as you think. He obtained the ability to strengthen himself from evil god. He needed to forcefully obtain strength from others. In the Imperial Dynasty, the best way was to attack the people around him. During this period of time, he had already swallowed close to 20 Imperial Dynasty guards. But this was far from enough. Unfortunately, there were too many of them and they would eventually attract attention. Zhu Xiang, you are the most trustworthy person by my side. It has been tough on you during this period of time. King Wudong said. He could see that Zhu Xiang was ambitious, but he was still loyal to him. Now that he was in need of manpower, he wanted to develop him. It is my honor to serve Your Majesty. Zhu Xiang knelt down. King Wudong said, now that the Alliance is suppressing us, the Imperial Dynasty needs talents. Go and recruit experts. No matter what conditions they raise, you can agree to them as long as they are really skilled. To him, this was probably the best method. Although people would occasionally be lost, it was much better than being outside. Yes, I will follow your orders, Zhu Xiang replied. He knew how much pressure His Majesty was under. The Alliance had placed their ambition on the table to tell the Imperial Dynasty that their target was the sects and, in the end, the Imperial Dynasty. No one would be able to escape. Very quickly, Zhu Xiang left the hall. King Wudong's face turned dark and cold. He raised his hand and his fingers turned into many tentacles. This was the source of him becoming stronger. When he got this ability from the evil gods, he couldn't accept it at the start. But now, he felt that it was a great ability. Alliance, sects, all of you wait. One day, all of you will pay a heavy price. He hated the Alliance and also hated the sections. This was why his only goal of becoming stronger was to take revenge and return the Imperial Dynasty to its former glory. He wanted to leave his nephew an Imperial Dynasty like before, even one that was even stronger than before. This was his dream and goal. Outside the Imperial Dynasty, Zhu Xiang returned to the general manor. He climbed to the peak of power in a short period of time and his speed was really quick. One could say that one's tongue was tied in disbelief. Normally, this wouldn't have happened. But now that they were in a chaotic world, everything was possible. General, what do you think happened in the Imperial Dynasty? The Deputy General asked curiously. Zhu Xiang said calmly, don't think about things you can't understand. It won't be good for you if you know. Yes, I understand, the Deputy General replied. Although Zhu Xiang wasn't strong, he was smart and had a plan. He was able to complete everything with minimal losses, which was why many soldiers supported him. Zhu Xiang looked towards the direction of the Imperial Dynasty and had a thought. He didn't know what the exact reason was, but it definitely had something to do with His Majesty. When he told His Majesty about this matter, he realized that His Majesty was really calm, like he didn't care much about it. And because of this, he suspected His Majesty. But all of that wasn't important. His Majesty's matters were their matters. No matter what His Majesty did, they just had to follow. A few days later, Lin Fan had been at the battlefield between the two alliances for a period of time. He hadn't seen many intense battles and was a little disappointed. Apart from coming out to scout the market, he wanted to earn a wave of rage points. But with the current situation, did he have to head to their sex and provoke them right in front of their faces? If that was the case, then it would make him feel helpless. He thought about it. Damn, since that is the case, then I will take the initiative. Days without rage points aren't happy at all. He was prepared to walk on the edge of death. He had no choice. He couldn't meet anyone, so he had to find one himself. A few days later, Evil Alliance territory. After Lin Fan left the border, he appeared in Evil Alliance territory. He had offended some sects over at Celestial Alliance. As for Evil Alliance, he didn't offend many. The only one he had an impression of was Xiedao sect. Night fell. Lin Fan stayed in the forest and was a little hungry. The bug-controlling technique's special Dao essence spread out and attracted a wild boar over. A wild boar buffed by Dao essence was indeed a little overbearing. Its face was vicious and its two fangs were really terrifying. But he didn't fear anything. He just ate whatever he wanted as it was the same anyway. ZZ. He barbecued the wild boar on the fire and a fragrance slowly spread out. When one was outside, if one didn't make some good food, one wouldn't be able to face one's stomach. Just like that, a wild boar that was as good as new was reduced to a skeleton under Lin Fan's huge appetite. Suddenly, Lin Fan turned his head and looked into the distance. A sound spread out from there. Someone was coming over. Chapter 466. Now that he was in Evil Alliance's territory, the people that appeared weren't good people. Very quickly, a bunch of people appeared in the distance. They are quite strong. Lin Fan looked on. An extremely luxurious carriage headed over, and there was a three-headed eagle-like beast pulling it. He had never seen a beast before, and the only one he had seen was Nine Demon. To others, it was just a bug. In the distance, "Young master, there is someone in front." A bunch of people followed the carriage, and one of them said softly to the carriage, "It is okay." The person in the carriage didn't show his face. His voice was that of a man, lazy but majestic. Very quickly, Lin Fan raised his head and muttered to himself. This person really knew how to enjoy life. Look at his carriage and then look at his situation. Why was the gap so huge? The carriage stopped around Lin Fan. "Let's rest here." A voice spread out from within. The servants beside him got busy and didn't care about Lin Fan at all. Everyone split up and in just a short while everything was prepared. A servant laid on the carriage. Shortly after, an arm stretched out from within. It opened the curtains and walked out. It stepped on the person's back and got off the carriage. Lin Fan took a look and was stunned. Was the person who came out a guy or a girl? Wait, from the way he spoke, it should be a guy. That was right. Damn, why did a guy look like that? The young master stepped on the carpet and said softly, "The air here is too turbid. The dirty floor will only stain my feet." "Don't worry, young master, we have cleaned this place," the servant said hurriedly. He knew that young master was a pretty boy who loved cleanliness and was the top handsome man in Evil Alliance. No. He was the most beautiful person in the 4 alliances. Any guy who saw young master's face would feel ashamed. One could sense the gap between them, and that was something that couldn't be crossed. The servants around looked at Lin Fan and realized that he was stunned. They were delighted. Another pitiful person was subdued by their young master's looks. Thinking about the geniuses of Evil Alliance, who knew how many of them wanted to be together with young master, but young master thought that they were tacky and rejected them. Even if there were girls who knelt outside and begged, just to meet him and speak to him, young master ignored them and didn't care about them at all. Right now, they knew that the reason why the young master didn't chase them away was because the young master's bad taste had come out. He probably wanted to let these ordinary men know the difference between them. Lin Fan remembered this person in his heart. The way they made their entrance was rather unique, and the formation they carried was also extraordinary. Clearly, they were from a top sect. Right now, his goal was to provoke the top sections. Now that someone had come knocking on his door, he would not be doing himself justice if he did not cherish this opportunity. But now, if the enemy doesn't move, I won't move either. It's best to first figure out the enemy's background. At this moment, young master sat there and looked at Lin Fan. To be able to meet me in the wilderness is a huge blessing for you. In the future, when you go out and tell others about this, it will become a topic of conversation for you. A little arrogant. Although Lin Fan didn't act cool, he was indeed arrogant. He didn't expect that he would actually meet such an opponent. He just met him in the wilderness and he actually said that it was a huge blessing for him. That was a little arrogant. Is that so? Are you so amazing? Lin Fan smiled and asked. Preposterous. How can you speak to my young master like that? Do you know who my young master is? Have you heard of heaven-covering demon sect? The servant standing beside the young master scolded him for being preposterous. When normal people met their young master, which one of them wouldn't lower their heads and worship him? But this kid actually dared to question him. He probably didn't even know who he was talking to. The young master didn't stop them. Instead, he calmly smiled. He liked to casually let the servants beside him introduce themselves. Then, he would see the calm expressions on their faces gradually turn into panic. That feeling, to him, was simply too satisfying. But the scenes in front of him, it disappointed the young master a little. He was thinking about it. When the servant mentioned heaven-covering demon sect, Lin Fan's expression should have been the same as what he expected. But why didn't the situation change at all? The young master squinted and waved his hands to tell the servant not to say anything more. You don't know about heaven-covering demon sect? The young master asked. He wanted to ask whether or not Lin Fan knew about heaven-covering demon sect. Logically speaking, everyone should have known about it. After all, it was a top sect in Evil Alliance. But looking at his expression, it was like he didn't know about it. As for not holding heaven-covering demon sect in any regard, that was impossible. Lin Fan smiled. In his heart, it was really simple. What did he know? Heaven-covering demon sect? In the entire Evil Alliance, he only knew about Xiedao sect. When the young master saw that Lin Fan only smiled and didn't say anything, he was really unhappy. He felt like this person totally disregarded his charm, and that made him really unhappy. But he really didn't believe that Lin Fan wasn't convinced by his charm. Next, the young master naturally needed to eat, and the food he prepared was really rich. Even if Lin Fan didn't know what the food was, just from the looks of it, he knew that it wasn't normal. Lin Fan had eaten an entire wild boar before, but when he smelled the fragrance, he felt hungry once more. Naturally, his appetite was there too. The young master sensed Lin Fan's gaze and his lips curled up into a weird smile. At that moment, the young master placed the food into his mouth elegantly and swallowed it. He then said, "Do you know what this food is? I don't think you have seen such food before, right?" Damn. Lin Fan couldn't take it anymore. Were people so overbearing when they acted cool now? Moreover, those words were just a prelude. As long as he continued, it would be time for him to act cool. He just thought that this might be his last chance to act cool. Forget it. He would just give him a chance. I have never seen it before. What kind of god food is this? Lin Fan asked. The young master smiled. These aren't things that normal people can eat. To others, each of them is really precious. There was once a person who said that he had tasted all the delicacies in the world and knelt in front of me, hoping to have a bite. I pitied him, so I let him have a bite. To him, this was his only chance to eat such precious food. But to me, it is just a normal ingredient. Take a look. Wasn't this acting cool a little too much? He actually said that someone knelt down for a bite. One had to say that this method was really amazing and had a high research value. But what he said next made Lin Fan really unhappy. Of course, with your identity and status, you probably won't be able to taste such food in your life. The young master smiled evilly. Right, it was an evil smile. Such a disgusting smile was his signature. Who knew how many evil alliance girls were captivated by his smile? Is that so? So, you are saying that your heaven-covering demon sect is really rich? Lin Fan got up and was prepared to walk towards the young master. What happened next wasn't harmonious at all. The young master said, "Of course, heaven-covering demon sect is the second richest out of the top 10 sects in Evil Alliance. No other sect dares to say that they are first." He was just so confident and overbearing. At the same time, he was filled with a sense of superiority. He looked at Lin Fan and thought about those pitiful people who fought for their lives. As the young master of a top sect, his life was something that they couldn't achieve even if they worked hard for their entire lives. Just at that moment, the servant standing beside the young master realized that Lin Fan was too close to the young master and hollered in rage, "Stop, stay away from my young master." The moment he said this, Lin Fan chuckled out as his god might burst forth and envelop the bodies of those slaves. In that instant, it was as if the slaves' hearts had stopped beating. Cold sweat appeared on their foreheads and their hearts were filled with panic like they had seen a ghost. This was an expert. That aura made it hard for them to breathe. Suddenly, in the darkness, a power spread out like a wave. An expert was hiding around. Scram! An old man aggressively attacked from the darkness. He opened his fingers and pulled fiercely. The dimension directly collapsed. He didn't say a single word and attacked ruthlessly the moment they met. This was enough to show how important the young master was to them. They wanted to kill the threat in the cradle as soon as possible. Lin Fan looked at the old man, raised his hand and pressed forwards. Pung! The old man's expression changed, and he felt an unstoppable power pressing down on him. He flew backward and spat out fresh blood in midair. He smashed many giant trees. Not bad, just a little weak. Lin Fan was really calm and he didn't care about him at all. To him, those who weren't at Tao Realm Stage 6 shouldn't talk to him. When the young master saw those scenes, his expression changed from calm to astonishment. In just a few seconds there was a huge change. Pata! Lin Fan walked in front of the young master and placed the precious ingredients into his mouth. And not bad, the taste is really fresh and it also contains a really strong power. It seems like what you said is true. This thing isn't something that normal people can enjoy. But you are wrong about something. If I want to eat it, I will eat it. There is nothing impossible about it. Lin Fan understood the luxurious life of the top sections. Just these ingredients alone were enough to be called spiritual herbs. It was extremely difficult for normal people to even think about it, but this extremely beautiful kid treated it like 3 meals a day. His life was just too carefree. When he was in U City, he didn't have such a good life. What are all of you looking at? The young master hollered in rage and scolded the servants who didn't move at all. He brought them out to protect him, so why weren't they moving now? Those servants were panicking. Young master, we can't move. To them, it felt like a giant stone was pressing down on them and they couldn't move at all. Chapter 467. Damn. The young master really wanted to smash the heads of these slaves. They actually couldn't be persuaded. Damn, why didn't they seem so cowardly usually? Now that he was facing a young man, all of them did such a thing. Good, very good. Wait and see, once this matter is over, I will teach all of you a lesson. You bunch of dogs, Lin Fan said, don't think about relying on them. You are like fish on the chopping board. No matter what you do, the outcome will be the same. Do you understand? Young Master's expression became really ugly. He was the young master of heaven-covering demon sect, and had a high status. Many people flattered him and sucked up to him. But now, a kid of unknown origin had jumped on his head. How could he tolerate that? To young master, this was a huge insult. Do you know what you are doing? Young master acted like he was calm and his expression was really dark and sunken. He hoped that Lin Fan could understand the huge gap between their identities. But if he attacked him, he would face terrifying revenge. Lin Fan raised his hand to cover his mouth and said, Sue, don't speak. I understand what you want to say. Threats are useless. If they were, do you think you would still be like this? At that moment, a voice spread out from behind. The old man climbed up from the ground and wiped off the blood at the corner of his mouth. He looked at Lin Fan in shock. He didn't expect that there would be such a terrifying young man. Old Tong, take him down. I am going to teach him a lesson. Young master raged. Old Tong looked at Lin Fan warily and reminded, Young master, don't anger him. He was able to see much further than the young master. He could tell with a single glance how strong the other party was. Even he might not be a match for him. Young master had such a comfortable life, and it was obvious that he didn't care about anyone else. But this kid was so terrifyingly strong. Was young master really blind, or was he faking it? As long as one had a brain, they wouldn't offend him at such a time. When young master heard old Tong's words, he felt like he was being insulted. Don't anger him? Didn't that mean that he was someone who could be angered easily and he couldn't fight back? Old Tong, do you know what you are saying? Who am I? You actually told me not to provoke the other party? Are you belittling my identity and status to the point that I'm worthless? The young master roared. Even at such a time, he didn't think that he was at a disadvantage. In simple words, the meaning was obvious. I am the young master of heaven-covering demon sect, so do you dare to hit me? Puh. As soon as the young lord finished speaking, a crisp voice sounded. Lin Fan couldn't take it anymore and slapped him. Stop acting cool. The young master felt pain on his face. Half of his face seemed to have shriveled up from the slap. Then, he fell to the ground with a thud. He seemed to be in a daze. Just as the young master was about to roar in anger, he suddenly felt his face getting wet. He raised his hand and wiped his face. Lowering his head, he saw that his palm was covered in blood. Ah! In an instant, the young master screamed in agony. His screams were heart-wrenching, as if he had suffered a huge blow. Immediately after, the young lord screamed like he was possessed. Save me, I'm bleeding, my flawless face has been ruined. How am I supposed to face people in the future? The young master touched his face and his eyes were filled with panic. He didn't even care about the pain on his face anymore. Instead, he was worried about how his face would look like. Lin Fan frowned. Was he sick in the head? His face was just slightly damaged, so why was he screaming like that? Not long later, the young master stared at Lin Fan in rage. You dare to hit me? Do you know who I am? How dare you hit me? When he said these words, he was about to cry. He had never experienced such a thing before. But it really happened in front of his eyes and his body personally felt the pain. Puh. Lin Fan slapped him once more and warned, be careful of what you say. Don't act cool. This slap stunned the young master once more. His entire person seemed to be lifeless. The young master turned his head and his eyes were filled with confusion like he was thinking about something. He slowly turned his head and stared with bloodshot eyes. You hit me? Puh. Lin Fan felt like this person was sick in the head. He slapped so loudly, but he actually asked if he dared to hit him. This was obviously something that was obvious. Are you sick in the head? Can't you feel whether or not I hit you? Lin Fan said. The young master hugged his head and screamed in terror like he didn't expect this to happen. His screams were as tragic as they could be. The servants who were suppressed by Lin Fan looked on in fear. They didn't expect that this person would actually dare to attack the young master. Moreover, the young master was beaten up so badly that his face was unrecognizable. Compared to his looks from before, the difference was just too huge. They knew that something huge was about to happen. Stop. The old man's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. He was the one who protected the young master when he went out, but he didn't expect such a thing to happen. The old man didn't hesitate and his aura exploded. With a loud explosion, the ground shook and he charged towards Lin Fan. Now that something happened to the young master, he was the one who didn't protect him well. Naturally, he would be punished when he returned. Maybe only by taking him down could he make up for his mistakes and avoid physical pain. I am talking about life with your young master, so why are you butting in? Scram to the side. Lin Fan took a single glance and kicked out with his leg. The might of this kick was extraordinary and terrifying to the extreme, causing the entire space to contort. The old man was shocked. There was a loud explosion. Poochie! The old man felt that his stomach was badly injured. The blood in his body boiled and he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. How is that possible? The moment he said this, he flew backward and smashed into the trees. The giant trees were smashed one after another. In the end, his body fell to the ground and formed a deep moat. Who are you? The old man was shocked. His eyes opened wide like he had seen a ghost. He was so strong at such a young age and he couldn't fight back at all. Suddenly, it was like he thought about someone. You are. Before he finished, he felt like his body was about to explode and he fainted. When the servants around saw this, they were all so frightened that they were about to cry. They had never experienced such a thing before. Even the top expert by the young master's side was suppressed so easily. They wanted to ask, who else could be his opponent? Huh! At that moment, Lin Fan looked at the people around. To him, these people were really weak. At most, they were just rage points. As for the rest, they were useless and had no use at all. To them, his gaze was simply terrifying to the extreme. It was as if their hearts were being gripped tightly by someone. With just a little strength, they would be instantly crushed. Now, they were unable to guess what his gaze meant. But they felt like it wasn't anything good. Suddenly, one of them seemed to understand something. He raised his hand and struck the back of his ear. Ah! I fainted. He laid on the ground and didn't move at all. When Lin Fan saw this, he nodded his head in satisfaction. He didn't expect people to be so smart. He didn't say anything and they knew what to do. It was indeed not bad. Those servants who didn't faint looked on with their mouths agape. They didn't expect that there would be such a smart person in their group. Oh my God! Why didn't they think of such a good idea from the start? But even now, it wasn't too late. Very quickly, some of them learned from that person, knocking themselves out. They cried out and all of them fainted. Even if some of them didn't do it well and didn't knock themselves out, that wasn't a problem. If they didn't really faint, how could they not act? Such a simple thing. There was no need to think so much. Very quickly, the bunch of servants all fainted. They laid on the ground and didn't dare to move at all. The young master looked on in disbelief. He felt that the servants who could protect him in the past were all wiped out. They even gave up on fighting back. Damn it! Damn it! All of you jerks, once I go back I will kill all of you, roared the young lord. The servants who had pretended to be unconscious, upon hearing the young lord's furious words, began to tremble with fear. Some of them even began to think about how to escape this calamity, and how to do so. Even at a time like this, you're still putting on an act. Look at you, your daddy here can't stand it. Lin Fan raised his fist and punched the young master's face. The young master cried out. He wanted to protect his face, but he could still feel the pain and the feeling of blood spurting out. Stop, stop. Why do you have to hit my face? Do you have a problem with my face? The young master hugged his head and shouted in rage. Lin Fan didn't say anything and continued to punch the young master's face. He didn't know why he had to stare at his face and punch it. Maybe it was because his face was really beautiful and he didn't like beautiful people. The servants, who had pretended to faint, were shivering. They could hear the sound of fists hitting flesh. They could also hear the young master cry out in pain. It was too tragic. Young master was just too tragic. After a long while, the young master's voice became weaker and weaker. Stop hitting me, big brother, please don't hit my face. What do you want? Just tell me. But unfortunately, Lin Fan still didn't bother about him. P.S. Singapore is so expensive, the first time he went overseas was given to Malaysia. Chapter 468. Who knew how long he had been hitting for? The ground where young master was lying had formed a deep hole, and the surrounding ground had cracked. These signs were enough to show how tragic the events that had just transpired were. Stop hitting me. Young master's voice was really weak and he couldn't even lift a finger. But his strong desire to live made him raise his hand with much difficulty to tell Lin Fan to stop. He had really seen a ghost. He felt that he was really unlucky to actually meet such a lunatic who didn't care that he was the young master of heaven-covering demon sect. He gritted his teeth and swore that as long as he lived, he would make him pay a heavy price. How do you feel? Lin Fan retracted his hand and smiled. His tone was like he was hoping to give him a good review. F***ck your mother, young master hollered in his heart. He lowered his head and his face was really vicious. But when he raised his head, that expression disappeared, and what replaced it was a begging expression. What else could he do apart from begging for mercy? He knew that no matter what he said, it was useless. Lin Fan wouldn't give him any face at all. So what if he was from heaven-covering demon sect? Didn't he see that when he said his background, Lin Fan hit him even more fiercely than before? Lin Fan accepted all the rage points and was in a good mood. Glancing at the young lord, he bent down and grabbed the young lord's ankles, slowly walking towards the darkness in the distance. Save me, young master's face was filled with despair. He grabbed the ground and his fingers were covered in dirt. Unfortunately, it was useless. His fingers left deep claw marks on the ground and slowly, they disappeared. A long while later, there was movement. Those servants who were pretending to be unconscious carefully observed the situation around and only dared to get up after ensuring that it was safe. But at that moment, some servants were worried. What should we do? Young master is being dragged away, and we don't know if he is dead or alive. We didn't protect him well, and if we return to heaven-covering demon sect, we will definitely die. Everyone kept silent. They all knew what the outcome would be. Everyone looked at one another and someone suggested boldly, "Why don't we just run? The world is huge and apart from the evil alliance, it isn't like we have nowhere to go. Don't you think so?" That makes sense. I think the same way too. If we go back, we will die, so why not go all out? Maybe we will have a chance of living. How about Elder Ing, who is by young lord's side? The old Ing that they were talking about was the old man who had been suppressed by Lin Fan. At this moment, he had already fainted. It was still a question of when he would wake up. When everyone turned to look at Elder Ing, the atmosphere at the scene suddenly changed. It seemed like he wanted to do something daring. A servant said greedily, "Old Ing is a Dao realm expert and he is unconscious. This is a good chance for us. If we split Old Ying's cultivation, it will be really beneficial for us." They were too daring. If it was any other time, it would be something unimaginable. But now that the opportunity had come, it all depended on whether they had the guts or not. Usually, when the benefits reached a certain level, people would be tempted to take risks. That was especially true now that the Tao realm experts were completely defenseless and could be slaughtered as they pleased. Their greed had long since been aroused. Subsequently, the sound of dismemberment came from the grove, devouring flesh and blood, refining essence, chi, and spirit. Evil techniques were commonly used by heaven-covering demon sect. As the servants of the young master, naturally, they would receive all sorts of rewards. This evil technique was passed down to them by the young master. Although eating the flesh and blood of Tao realm experts couldn't convert all their energy, it was enough to raise a realm. Next day, Lin Fan didn't continue to beat up the young master. He just smiled. "Don't worry, don't be so afraid. I have no ill intentions towards you." When the young master heard this, he wanted to curse. Damn, no ill intentions. If he really had no ill intentions, would he have done that to him? Damn it. The young master's thoughts slowly calmed down. If he wasn't strong enough to fight him, he would have beaten him up so badly that he would have cried for his parents. "Big brother, it is good that you have no ill intentions. I also have no ill intentions towards you. If you have anything, just tell me. As long as I can do it, I will do it." The young master knew how important it was to swallow humiliation, but to him this was a humiliation. As the young master of heaven-covering demon sect, he never knew how to swallow humiliation. Often, it was others who swallowed humiliation to save their lives from his hands. Lin Fan nodded. "If I knew, then I wouldn't have suffered so much. But I am not satisfied with your face. I feel like you don't have a manly aura at all. If I leave a scar on your face, then it would look much better." Just as Lin Fan finished his sentence, young master knelt down on the ground. His head was like a pile driver as he slammed it against the ground. "Big brother, let me off. If you have any requests, just tell me. I just hope that you don't treat me like this." The young master cried. His face was covered in tears, and he didn't even care about his image anymore. Tears and mucus flowed all over his face. He was really frightened. Damn, was this person a demon? He actually wanted to leave a scar on his face, and even said that it would make him look manly. Damn. If he really left a scar, then he might as well just kill him. Even now, his face was bruised and swollen beyond recognition. It was comparable to a pig's head. Lin Fan said helplessly, "You are a man, so why are you always crying? Why is your face so important? Are you relying on your face to earn a living?" The young master was speechless. The other party was right. His position in heaven-covering demon sect was a little high, but that wasn't the main point. The main point was that he really relied on his face to earn a living. Countless geniuses had taken a liking to his looks. Relying on this face to communicate with others was always successful. If his face was really destroyed, he would be completely done for. This was why when he heard Lin Fan say that he wanted to leave a scar on his face, he was really frightened to death. Seeing that the young master didn't say anything, Lin Fan reached out and picked him up like a chicken. "Let's go to your sect and be happy." During this period of time, the young master didn't understand why Lin Fan brought him along. Now that he heard that Lin Fan wanted to head to heaven-covering demon sect, he was stunned and then delighted. He didn't expect that Lin Fan actually wanted to bring him back to the sect. No, he had to calm down. No matter what, he had to calm down, and he couldn't act too happy. Otherwise, if Lin Fan saw through it and suddenly didn't want to go, he would really spit out blood. So, he had to calm down. He had to calm down. "Big brother, there's no need to go to my sect. Just let me go. I swear to the heavens that I won't tell anyone about this. After all, I'm a person of status. It's shameful for me to suffer outside. Why don't you just let me go?" The young master persuaded like he was really thinking about Lin Fan's well-being. Actually, he didn't want to be too direct. He wanted Lin Fan to think that going to heaven-covering demon sect was what he wanted. Lin Fan smiled. "That won't do. I have already beaten you up so badly, so how can I not give you a chance to take revenge? Head to your heaven-covering demon sect and let you complain. Someone will help you and that will fulfill your wish, right? The young master was stunned as he looked at Lin Fan. He didn't expect such a situation to occur. He really wanted to ask Lin Fan what he was thinking. Did he hear wrongly or did he really become arrogant? He actually dared to head to heaven-covering demon sect alone. Was he so arrogant? Okay, let's go. Imperial Dynasty. King Wudong recruited many experts, but with the current strength of the Imperial Dynasty, it was tough for them to recruit experts above Dao Realm. After all, Dao Realm experts had high standards. In the top sects, they were all elders. But to King Wudong, even if they weren't Dao Realm experts, it was enough. His cultivation wasn't high and he just needed to slowly raise it. That night, the Imperial Dynasty was really quiet and the maids didn't dare to come out. Recently, the Imperial Dynasty was really weird and the nights sent chills down one's spine. The maids said that they had heard terrifying screams at night. No one knew what was going on. But just like that, it was enough to scare them so much that they didn't dare to move at night. In the stone room, Evil God, I want to know what the side effects of the ability you gave me are. King Wudong took out the Evil God statue and questioned. He felt like he was walking on the edge of danger. The Evil God statue was much more spirited than before. The originally empty stone eyes actually shone red. Although it was just a flash, it was enough to show that the Evil God statue was slowly changing. Who? So powerful. In such a short period of time, your cultivation has actually reached the Void Realm. How many innocent people have you devoured? This evil god was right about you. In the depths of your heart, you are more evil than anyone else and you desire power more. I forgot to tell you that power doesn't come out of nowhere. If you gain something, you will have to pay a price. What you need to pay is just a bit of rationality. Rationality is fake and it doesn't exist and it isn't important. Evil God's voice was really dark and sunken, like he was talking about something that didn't matter at all. King Wudong clenched his fists and his expression changed. Why didn't you say so from the start? Evil God said, are you going to blame me for not being clear like before? That is your problem, okay? You didn't ask, so why would I remind you? There's no need to worry about these things. Rationality will only limit you. True experts are all crazy. Look at the strength you have now. How strong is it? How shocking is it? But the insightful emptiness realm is not your end. You will become stronger until you become the strongest existence in the world. That is your end. King Wudong frowned. He could sense how dangerous Evil God was, but he had no way back. The temptation of power was just too huge. He couldn't bear to give it up. Especially now, what he needed the most was power. King Wudong turned around and left. He didn't say a single word and just reminded himself. This king must wipe out everything while I still have my reason. P.S. I am back and will work hard to update. Truthfully, this is the only 2 days that I haven't updated in the past 1,000 days. I was a little arrogant. Chapter 469. Big Brother, are you really going to step into my sect? Young Master was stunned and didn't understand what Lin Fan was thinking. Who was he looking down on? It was okay if he looked down on him. After all, he was weak and he had nothing to say even if he was beaten up. But he really didn't expect that Lin Fan would really come to Heaven-covering Demon Sect. No matter what, Heaven-covering Demon Sect was a top sect in Evil Alliance. Lin Fan said calmly, "What do you think?" Young Master looked at Lin Fan and then forwards. If he wasn't blind and didn't see wrongly, that should be the headquarters of Heaven-covering Demon Sect. Lin Fan really brought him here. But he didn't understand what Lin Fan was thinking. Did he come to Heaven-covering Demon Sect to ask to be beaten up? Are you excited? Are you excited? Seeing that young Master didn't say anything, Lin Fan opened his mouth and asked. Logically speaking, how could he not be excited? He had suffered so many merciless beatings along the way, and his handsome face was not as good as before. Young master looked at Lin Fan and really wanted to holler. Wasn't that nonsense? How could he not be excited? He was so excited that he was about to ascend to the heavens. As long as he returned to heaven-covering demon sect, he would be totally at ease. If not, he would be so terrified that he would pee his pants. Let's go to your sect. Lin Fan grabbed young master and walked towards heaven-covering demon sect. Heaven-covering demon sect was a top sect in Evil Alliance. They had many experts and many Dao Realm experts. Legend had it that the sect leader was a Dao Realm Stage 7 expert. In an era where no one could enter Stage 8 and 9, it seemed like he was half a step into Dao Realm Stage 8. The young master struggled a little and tried to persuade Lin Fan to put him down. If the disciples saw him carrying him like that, he would lose all his face. Lin Fan obviously didn't care about his nonsense. The sect was majestic and gave off a terrifying aura. Just one look and one knew that this Evil Alliance sect was extraordinary. At the entrance, young master was sure that Lin Fan wasn't joking and he was really here. Big brother, we are already here, so can you let go of me? Can you give me some face? To young master, he felt really pitiful and he didn't know what to say. Naturally, he was in a good mood since Lin Fan brought him to his sect. But now, he was not feeling well at all. Perhaps this was the experience of AF** ket up life. He felt that he was going to lose a lot of face. Why do you have so many requests? I think this is good enough. Don't think too much, I'll send you in. Lin Fan carried young master with one hand like he was carrying a little chick and walked towards heaven-covering demon sect. The young master's heart was bleeding. He screamed in his heart that no one should see this. But more often than not, what they worried about in their hearts would come true. In the distance, the few heaven-covering demon sect disciples walked over. These disciples were chatting. They were just ordinary disciples in the sect. The things they talked about were simple and ordinary. They talked about some gossip and the current situation. But to them, heaven-covering demon sect was a blessing. Because the sect had a young master, there would often be many cute and beautiful girls coming over. Although it had nothing to do with them, at least they could feast their eyes. Suddenly, they were stunned. His eyeballs looked like they were about to pop out and he almost cursed. They rubbed their eyes, afraid that they were seeing things. Don't you feel that it's the young master? That does seem a little similar. That shouldn't be possible. How could young master be like that? One couldn't blame them for not believing him. Young master was just too famous, and he was a treasure in heaven-covering demon sect. Anyone who dared to offend him would be asking to die. Very quickly, Lin Fan carried the young master and walked past them. He tilted his head and smiled, as if he was greeting them. The few of them couldn't figure out his background and just nodded their heads in a stunned manner. But they just stared at young master. Similar, he really looked similar. But he felt like something wasn't right. Lin Fan was too calm. Even when he stepped into heaven-covering demon sect, he didn't stop them to ask about his identity. Maybe they thought that no one would dare to cause trouble in heaven-covering demon sect. Young master was terrified to death and thought that he was about to be noticed. But shortly after, he realized that the situation was a little different. Those few disciples actually didn't recognize him. Suddenly, other than feeling lucky, he was enraged. Damn it, are you guys blind? I was brought back here in someone's hand. Don't you recognize who I am? You even nodded and greeted him. You were just so dumb. Lin Fan said calmly, I told you that there was no need. Normal people wouldn't be able to recognize you. Young master was speechless. He actually had nothing to say and didn't know what to say. Then, young master said, Big brother, I just want to know why you sent me back to the sect. If you are here to cause trouble, then I advise you not to do that. You can suppress old shadow, which means that you are strong. But if you look down on heaven-covering demon sect just like that, then you are wrong. Lin Fan said, "It is okay. I didn't come here for any other reason. I just wanted to quarrel with you. Once I feel better, then I will leave." Young Master didn't reply and he just laughed in his heart. Quarrel? Leave after I feel better? Stop King dreaming. Just like what he said, if he could leave this place, he would swallow the entire ground. Very quickly. Lin Fan finally stepped onto the foundation of heaven-covering demon sect. He raised his head and looked out. As expected, it was a top sect. Young Master. Just at that moment, someone finally recognized the young master that Lin Fan was carrying. That person was stunned and his mouth opened wide like he had seen a ghost. He really didn't dare to believe it. Damn. He really saw a ghost. If he wasn't wrong, he was sure that this was young Master and not someone else. At that moment, young Master really wanted to die. He was recognized, he was really recognized. His voice wasn't soft and attracted the attention of many people around. "Who are you? What did you do to our young master?" That person looked at Lin Fan and asked angrily. Looking at the current situation, he didn't need to think too much to guess what was going on. Their young master had been kidnapped. Moreover, he was really bold to actually dare to come to heaven-covering demon sect. Did he really think that his sect was easy to bully? Lin Fan didn't bother and just stood there. It was just that he felt a little uncomfortable. These people didn't give much rage points, and there were even some who didn't give him any at all. "You aren't popular in the sect," Lin Fan said. Young Master, who felt like he had lost all his face, was totally stunned by Lin Fan's words. He didn't know what Lin Fan meant by that. Not popular? Nonsense. This young master was the most popular person in the sect. Who didn't follow him around like a follower. He could proudly say that if this young master claimed to be the second most popular person in the sect, no one would dare to claim to be the first. Slowly, more and more disciples surrounded him. But regretfully, no one attacked. Only that person scolded him. But seeing that Lin Fan didn't say anything, he didn't say anything. He just looked at Lin Fan with an unfriendly gaze. Lin Fan was a little impatient. "Where are the experts from heaven-covering demon sect? Your young master is in my hands, so why isn't there a single person?" Although his voice wasn't loud, it spread far and wide. Everyone in heaven-covering demon sect heard it. "We are finished." Young Master really wanted to dig a hole to hide in. He really didn't expect Lin Fan to be so direct. Couldn't he not be like that? No matter what, he was the young master and he had to give him some face. At that moment, heaven-covering demon sect exploded. Some disciples in the sect were cultivating, and when Lin Fan's words spread into their ears, all of them opened their eyes in shock like they were filled with disbelief. Young Master was captured? Moreover, Lin Fan was so bold to bring people back to heaven-covering demon sect. Even if he was asking to die, he shouldn't have done that, right? Even. To them, there were only two possibilities. One was that Lin Fan had a problem with his head, and the other was that he was confident in his own strength. Otherwise, there was no reason for him to say that. Shortly after, they didn't bother about cultivating and just headed into the distance. They had to personally witness it before they would believe it. When the elders of heaven-covering demon sect heard about it, they were all stunned. It was obvious that they didn't expect it either. But no matter what, this was a huge matter. Honglong. Several auras from heaven-covering demon sect rose into the air and covered the entire sect. They all locked onto Lin Fan. "You really are a lunatic." Young Master lowered his head and his face felt a burning pain. He felt that he was high above and had never suffered any humiliation. But now, humiliation had arrived. The entire sect knew that he had been beaten up like a pig. Lin Fan smiled. "You are wrong. How can I be a lunatic? Heaven-covering demon sect isn't a terrifying place. I just sent you back to take a look." Shortly after, Lin Fan released young master and stood with his arms behind his back. He was really calm and didn't feel nervous about what was about to happen. He was even a little excited. Who knew how many rage points he would get? Truthfully, the fact that he dared to come to heaven-covering demon sect alone stunned the surrounding disciples. They used their brains to think about it. They felt like he was here to die. Suddenly, numerous people appeared in the air. One of them had an eagle-like gaze and hollered, "Who are you? You actually dare to cause trouble in heaven-covering demon sect and even dare to injure my young master. You are just asking to die." The elders' arrival pushed the atmosphere to its peak. After all, their main pillar was here. They all heaved a sigh of relief. Young master was controlled by Lin Fan. If something unexpected happened, the consequences would be disastrous. That was why no one dared to make a move. It was best to wait for the elders to arrive and let them deal with these matters. You took so long to come out. I thought that all of you were afraid. Lin Fan said leisurely. These words made everyone dumbfounded. Were they sick in the head? Till now, they still didn't know where he was. Chapter 470. Lin Fan's words were really arrogant and he didn't hold them in any regard at all. Even if they were in heaven-covering demon sex territory, he was still so lawless. To everyone, he was just too arrogant. A wave of rage points surged towards him. When young master was being taught a lesson, some disciples gloated. But to them, Lin Fan's words were a little too much. They were all disciples of heaven-covering demon sect, and it was okay for him to humiliate young master, but why did he have to drag them along? Thus, when the elder appeared, all of them were furious. They were evil sect disciples to begin with, and their personalities were wild and untamed. Those who were slightly stronger would look down on everyone else. Some of them clenched their fists and cracked. They all wanted to teach Lin Fan a lesson and open his eyes. They wanted him to see blood so that he would know what he could and couldn't say. The elders who appeared were all top experts of heaven-covering demon sect. One of them looked towards young master and said solemnly, "Young master, are you okay?" Although he was an elder and young master was just a disciple. But in terms of status, apart from the sect leader, no one else could compare to young master. Young master didn't want to speak. He didn't even want to say a single word of nonsense. How unbearable! To young master, everything that was happening was like a dream. However, his silence sent a bad signal to the elder. It was as if the young master had suffered a terrible ordeal, causing the young master's willpower to collapse. Logically speaking, such a thing shouldn't have happened. After all, young master had people protecting him, and they weren't weak. But the situation only meant that old shadow had been suppressed. "I am heaven-covering demon sect Elder Black Prison. Who are you?" Black Prison asked about Lin Fan's background once more. Suddenly, an old man beside Elder Black Prison said softly, "Senior brother, don't you think you've seen this person somewhere?" Black Prison frowned and looked closely. Instantly, he was shocked. The face in his eyes merged with a portrait. Instantly, he was shocked. "You are Lin Wani's son, Lin Fan. I didn't expect you to actually walk into a trap." He recognized him, he really did. The Alliance wanted to use the four alliances to capture Lin Fan. But as it was too shocking, the four alliances didn't believe it. But what happened later on told them that Lin Wani's son was indeed really strong. He couldn't be left alive. An existence that had to be killed. Lin Fan smiled. "I didn't expect to be recognized." When he said this, he was quite proud, as if he wanted to let others know that his reputation was already so great. Actually, Lin Fan's reputation in the Evil Alliance was really bad. Evil Spirit Old Ancestor was conned by him, and the war between Evil Alliance and Celestial Alliance started because of him. To others, coming to heaven-covering demon sect was the same as walking into a trap. Black Prison said, "Young Master Lin, you are really bold. You actually dare to come to heaven-covering demon sect alone. My young master is in your hands, and you really have something on him. What do you want? Pata. Lin Fan kicked young master in front of Black Prison and said calmly, "It doesn't matter. I was just bored and came to take a look at your heaven-covering demon sect. But to me, your heaven-covering demon sect isn't much. These disciples have surrounded me for so long and no one dares to attack me. How disappointing." Young master wanted to curse. Damn. Who did he offend? Why did he have to kick him? Didn't he know that his position in the sect was quite high? To the heaven-covering demon sect disciples, they saw young master being kicked away like trash, and they didn't know what to say. "Kid, you are asking to die." Black Prison's gaze turned dark and cold. Young master was the face of heaven-covering demon sect, and now that he was treated like that, it was a slap to their faces. From start till now, Lin Fan maintained his calm as he faced heaven-covering demon sect. Even if this was an evil alliance top sect, he wasn't afraid at all. He sensed it carefully. He was surrounded by the rage of the people around. These disciples were all enraged. Perhaps it was because the ridicule just now had struck a chord in their hearts, hurting their self-esteem. Thus, they could only use anger to express their true feelings. "I don't know whether or not I am asking to die, but I can tell you clearly that I came to your heaven-covering demon sect to find trouble," Lin Fan said. His good impression of the top sects was basically zero, or rather, it was negative. The surrounding disciples looked at Lin Fan in rage. At the same time, they were shocked. They had never seen such an arrogant person. Since entering heaven-covering demon sect, they had never seen anyone who dared to cause trouble. They had never even heard of such a thing. "Kid, you are too arrogant. Let me test you." An old man standing beside Hey You couldn't take it anymore and attacked. The surrounding space trembled and a shocking power burst out, condensing into a black python. The black python opened its bloody mouth and whizzed over. It was obvious that it wanted to swallow Lin Fan. This old man was really strong and had a high status in the sect. His every action was filled with the aura of an expert. Black Prison didn't stop him. He wanted to see how strong this kid was. In just an instant, there was a loud explosion. A shocking explosion reverberated throughout the area. It was like thunder exploding in everyone's ears, causing many disciples' hearts to ring. All the disciples were filled with terror. Too terrifying. They didn't expect that the young master who kidnapped the young master would actually be so terrifying. Shortly after, they saw something that they didn't dare to believe in their entire lives. What? They looked at the scenes in front of them with their mouths agape. The elder who attacked knelt on one knee and used one hand to support himself. The other hand covered his chest and he coughed intensely. Each time he coughed, a large amount of blood would spurt out. All the disciples didn't dare to believe that this would happen. The elder actually lost. In the blink of an eye, he didn't even have the time to blink and he ended up like this. That was just too terrifying. Black Prison's expression changed slightly. He had seen everything that had happened just now. He didn't expect this kid to be even more terrifying than the rumors. Didn't they say that he was only at Dao Realm Stage 2? But looking at the situation, how was he only at Dao Realm Stage 2? One kick after another landed on his junior brother's body. Although it looked like a normal kick, the power contained in it was really terrifying. If it landed on the ground, heaven-covering demon sect would have collapsed. This kick is still okay, right? Lin Fan tapped his pants with his fingers. His expression was really calm, like it was just a simple action. Too much. His casual actions totally infuriated the people from heaven-covering demon sect. Large amounts of rage points surged towards him. To Lin Fan, this feeling was just too great. He knew that coming to a top sect to cause trouble was the best way to do things. He was now at Dao Realm Stage 3 and his Dao patterns reached 90. As long as he continued to work hard and accumulate rage points to raise his Dao patterns, his cultivation would naturally soar. If he reached Tao Realm Stage 4, he would be able to beat them up easily. The elder who was kicked to the ground by Lin Fan raised his head. His eyes were bloodshot and he really wanted to swallow Lin Fan up. The elders at the side couldn't take it. What an arrogant kid. Let me take a look. But this rash elder was stopped by Black Prison. Don't be rash, you aren't his match. Those words were a little insulting. Although you are the senior brother, you can't say that. I am a Tao Realm Stage 5 expert, so how can I not be his match? Junior brother is just half a step into Stage 5 and is still considered Stage 4, so it is understandable that he can't beat him. But I am already so strong, so how can I not be his match? But he had no choice. Black Prison was the senior brother, so he could only retreat in rage. It would be a lie if Black Prison wasn't shocked. If junior brother hadn't attacked and was suppressed in one move, he wouldn't have dared to believe that Lin Fan was actually so terrifyingly strong. As expected from Lin Wani's son, young Master Lin's cultivation is really shocking. In the past, I was wondering how Lin Wani could improve so quickly. It seems like your Lin family is indeed more talented. Young Master Lin also perfectly inherited this shocking talent. Unfortunately, you shouldn't have come to heaven-covering demon sect to cause trouble, and you shouldn't have attacked my young master. Black Prison's voice was really calm and he wasn't as angry as before. He had the same thoughts as the Alliance. This kid definitely couldn't be left alive. If he was left alive, he would be a problem. Lin Fan smiled. The feeling of being praised was pretty good. However, he really wanted to tell the other party that everything he said was wrong. Just thinking about it made him want to laugh. What talent! His cultivation was all obtained by adding point. Since that was what they thought, then he didn't say anything more. He didn't care what they thought and just let them do what they wanted. Lin Fan waved his hand. Okay, let's not talk so much nonsense. If you want to fight, then hurry up. In my opinion, your heaven-covering demon sect is just SOSO. You are so cowardly. It has been a while since I came here and I am perfectly fine. I didn't even lose an arm or a leg. Truthfully, it is really disappointing. Damn. The disciples couldn't help but curse. That was just too arrogant. He was just lawless. They couldn't take it anymore. They really couldn't take it anymore. Truthfully. They were proud to be in heaven-covering demon sect and now someone was slapping their faces. Normal people wouldn't be able to take it. That was just too much. They only had one thought in their hearts, which was that they hoped that Black Prison could teach this arrogant fellow a lesson. It was best if he could kill him on the spot and then they could use his head as a ball to kick. Black Prison was expressionless but the wrinkles on his face trembled. It was obvious that Lin Fan's words infuriated him a little. He had seen many arrogant people but he had never seen someone as arrogant as Lin Fan. Very good, it is normal for young people to be rash, but I want to see how much ability you have. Black Prison said coldly and then made a hand gesture for him to head to another area to fight. After all, their cultivations were really strong. If they really fought, the area affected would be huge. But Lin Fan was stunned by his actions. What did he mean? He didn't care. Maybe he was going to fight. Hong Long. Lin Fan's aura exploded and he didn't hide it. His power spread outwards like wave. Fight. Lin Fan hollered. Elder Black Prison was stunned. Chapter 471. Lin Fan's voice caused Black Prison to be stunned. What were you doing? Young Master Lin, since you came to heaven-covering demon sect to fight, then follow me. Black Prison hollered in rage. If they really fought here, then it would be a huge problem. This was why he wanted to lead Lin Fan to another place. He definitely couldn't fight in the sect's territory. No. Lin Fan replied decisively. He wouldn't agree to Black Prison's request. If they wanted to fight, then they should fight here. If they ran somewhere else, wouldn't that be a huge difference from what he wanted? He didn't care about what happened to heaven-covering demon sect. Anyway, he was here to cause trouble. If he really caused trouble, then that would be what he wanted. Black Prison was furious. It was obvious that he didn't expect that Lin Fan wouldn't go. Did he really want to fight here and cause irreversible damage to heaven-covering demon sect? Just as he was thinking about all of this, he was shocked. He was shocked. Lin Fan let out a furious roar, and the impact of his power turned into wind blades that swept out in all directions. Kid, you are asking to die. Black Prison obviously couldn't do nothing. He pressed down with one palm and formed a domain. The dimension collapsed and cut off the area. There was a loud explosion. There was an intense explosion. The heaven-covering demon sect disciples were stunned. They didn't expect that Lin Fan would actually attack. Those who were closer felt a huge force striking their bodies. There was a gotcha. There was also the sound of bones breaking. Then, they spat out blood and it felt like their organs had shifted. Young Master didn't even know who he had offended. As it was too embarrassing, he just laid there. Who knew that he would face danger even after returning to the sect? Bastard! Black Prison raged. Young Master Lin, what is the meaning of this? If you want to fight, then come with me. Do you know how big of an impact it will have if you fight in the sect? His eyes were about to spit fire. He even wanted to swallow Lin Fan up right away. Lin Fan clenched his fists and calmed himself down. You are right, but I like to fight in your territory. It is best if the sky and earth shatters. But what can all of you do? Damn. Black Prison was so furious that he wanted to curse. He didn't expect that he would face such a kid. Heaven-covering demon sect didn't offend him, but he kidnapped young Master and started a war. The reason was so random. It was as if he was looking for trouble. All disciples, evacuate the scene. Elder Black Prison instructed. The difference in strength between these disciples and the other party was simply too great. Staying here would just be sending them to their death. When the disciples heard this, they didn't dare to stay any longer. They broke into a run. The difference in strength was too big. They weren't blind, so how could they not see it? Not to mention attacking, just the shock waves alone could kill them all. The young Master, who had already lost all his face, just wanted to quietly be a coward and muddle through this matter. But how could they survive the current situation? Motherf ****. Where did this monster come from? He's way too daring. The young Master ran. As he ran, he turned around and stared at Lin Fan's face. It was obvious that he wanted to remember this face forever. He was an arrogant man with status. However, the most shameful thing was that the other party was the one who had caused it. He would always remember the other party in his heart. Maybe one day. No, there was definitely no such day. He was going to die here today. To be able to bully this young Master before your death is enough for you to brag about for the rest of your life. The atmosphere in heaven-covering demon sect was a little suppressed. Junior brothers, attack together to kill this kid. Elder Black Prison's expression was cold and it was obvious that he wanted to kill him. If Lin Fan wanted to attack in heaven-covering demon sect's territory, then he could only kill him quickly in case there were any problems. Shwa. Shwa. Several elders blocked Lin Fan's path, and each of them stared at him in rage. The space around them shook and they gave off a terrifying aura and shocking killing intent. Kid, you won't be able to escape today. You dare to cause trouble in heaven-covering demon sect. Today you shall die here. They were infuriated by this brat. At the same time, they set up an isolation barrier. Otherwise, with their strength, if they attacked together, the aftermath would be terrifying to a certain extent. When Dao Realm experts attacked, they could cause the entire area to shake. To experts, it might not have been much, but the sect disciples were too weak, so how could they handle such power? Ah! Lin Fan smiled calmly. Ganging up on them is the wisest choice. Naturally, I don't care about the juniors of your sect. As for the weak, I am too lazy to kill them. As for whether or not they will die, that will depend on their luck. Okay, there is no point in talking anymore. Let's attack. Lin Fan clenched his fingers and with a crack, the space collapsed. Many cracks appeared and the dimension slowly opened up. This was the explosion of pure strength. It was extremely shocking, and one could say that it was extremely terrifying. Each elder wanted to kill Lin Fan, but they were all really wary of Lin Fan's strength. What shocking strength! This was a huge enemy, and senior brother told them to attack together. It was obvious that they didn't dare to be careless in case there were any problems. At that moment, Lin Fan clenched his fingers into a fist, and he hammered towards the space. The space was like a mirror that shattered. Shortly after, a sky-ripping power swept the area like a tsunami. Elder Black Prison and the other junior brothers looked at one another and nodded their heads. They attacked together. 1 Dao Realm Stage 6, 3 Dao Realm Stage 5, and 2 Dao Realm Stage 4. This was already really terrifying strength, and one could say that it was shocking. Even the Alliance didn't dare to be careless. Now that Lin Fan was fighting 6 of them alone, one could only say that he was really strong. The only one who could fight Lin Fan was Elder Black Prison. As for the others, they were just distractions. But the gap between realms could be huge or small, but one had to pay attention to the special characteristics of Dao Realm. Instantly, bright light shone and shone on the world. The light was so eye-piercing that one couldn't open their eyes. The ripples of power continued to spread. Even if many Dao Realm experts laid down a barrier, it was hard to stop the ripples from spreading. The surrounding buildings collapsed and the ground cracked. One could even see magma boiling underground. This is quite problematic. Lin Fan was calm, but deep down, he was a little shocked. When these people worked together, the power they formed was quite terrifying. Attack! Elder Black Prison hollered in rage and opened his palms. Black flames jumped in the air and swept forwards. The black flames weren't hot and were even really cold. Everywhere it passed, even the dimension couldn't block it, and it froze right away. The other elders all used their own technique. Maybe they really wanted to kill Lin Fan, so they didn't hold back at all. This was the first time Lin Fan saw something that they had never used in battle before. A series of weapons that emanated the might of the heaven and earth stood vertically in the sky, emanating a supreme might as they slashed out at Lin Fan. These were all Dao artifacts, top weapons that only Dao Realm experts could control. Moreover, they were all really rare and normal Dao Realm experts couldn't have them. But Heaven-covering Demon Sect didn't lack them. Since you are all serious, then I won't hold back. Lin Fan activated the Chief God domain and then opened his palm. The dimension ripped open and he grabbed with his fingers. Numerous bugs swept out from the dimension. Insect Valley Elder Black Prison was shocked. He didn't expect that Lin Fan would actually use Insect Valley's technique. But he didn't have the time to think so much. He had to kill those who had to be killed. Hong Long. Lin Fan clashed with the many elders. Several powers clashed with one another and a terrifying shockwave exploded. Quang Dang. Lin Fan's fist landed on a token. Suddenly, several circular ripples appeared on the token. It took Lin Fan's punch head-on without being damaged. At the same time, in the blink of an eye, several Dao patterns shot out from the token, turning into whips that lashed at Lin Fan's body. But this bit of strength wasn't enough. Pili Pala. There was a loud clang. It was like he was whipping a piece of metal. The elders were shocked, but this wasn't the time to be shocked. Their only thought was to end the battle quickly, otherwise, if this dragged on, Heaven-covering Demon Sect would suffer even more losses. Elder Black Prison was shocked. Dual Cultivator Dao Realm Stage 3. How was that possible? He had never met anyone who could cultivate both internal and external energy to such a level. It was simply impossible. Be it time or energy, it wasn't enough. But he didn't have the time to think so much. He didn't care so much. He just had to kill Lin Fan. As time flowed, Not only did the battle not end, but it became more and more intense. Pung! 2 Dao Realm Stage 4 elders were badly injured and their bodies smashed into the ground. They had lost and their Dao artifacts were shattered into pieces. If one hadn't personally experienced it, no one would have been able to imagine how terrifying the two of them had suffered. If it wasn't for the Dao artifact and Black Prison and the others who shared the burden for them, these 2 dregs would have been smashed to pieces. As for now, it wasn't too late. Those who had to lie down still had to lie down. You are a little problematic. A wound appeared on Lin Fan's shoulder. It was a little deep and fresh blood flowed. He wasn't paying attention and was injured by Black Prison. It was just a small injury and he didn't fear anything. He didn't use the blood demon reversal technique to recover his body. No matter what, he had to give them some hope. Black Prison's expression was solemn. Black flames surged around his body as he looked at heaven-covering demon sex situation. He gritted his teeth. Look at what you have done. Lin Fan took a look. There wasn't much to worry about. There was an area below that was in ruins and it was even worse than the ruins. The ripples from both sides were too strong and the barrier couldn't block it at all. It was normal for some buildings to be damaged. Don't be too emotional. Battles are like that. You can't expect everything to be perfectly fine. Moreover, to be honest, I don't have a good impression of your sex at all. But don't worry, I won't kill all of you. I am just playing with all of you. Lin Fan said calmly. He felt that some top sects were still useful. At least they could restrict the alliance. If not, the alliance wouldn't just occupy such a small area. Suddenly, a sense of danger spread into his mind. Someone sneak attacked. Moreover, the person who came was really strong. He probably hid for a long time just for this chance. Chapter 472. Lin Fan's sense of danger was really strong. But Lin Fan's strength wasn't normal. If he was a normal expert, he would have reacted long ago. When he turned around and was prepared to block, a cold light struck towards his chest. It was just too quick. Lin Fan crossed his fingers in front of his body. With a clang, the cold light hit his palm and he was unable to advance any further. If his cultivation wasn't strong enough, he would have been pierced through. Lin Fan focused. The person who sneak attacked wore a black robe with golden edges and held a spear that was surging with demonic energy. At that moment, the spear continued to give off terrifying power. Lin Fan frowned and didn't dare to be careless. At the same time, the spear's strength didn't stop and it continued to explode. Dang dang! Lin Fan retreated and with one foot, the space around him collapsed. He cursed in rage. How despicable! You actually sneak attacked. When Black Prison saw who it was, he was delighted. Since the sect leader was here, then things would be easy. With so many of them attacking, it would be easy to kill this kid. How dare you behave so arrogantly in heaven-covering demon sect? How can I let you live? Sect leader's eyes shone brightly. He shook his wrist and the spear started to spin, forming a terrifying energy whirlpool. It looked like a simple move, but to Lin Fan, the situation wasn't good. Dang dang! Lin Fan retreated step by step. At the same time, a shocking power spread from his legs. His hands that blocked the spear trembled and blood seeped out. Sect leader frowned like he didn't expect Lin Fan to last until now. But all of that wasn't important. Sect leader's lips moved. Celestial slaying. At that moment, the spear in sect leader's hand changed. Thick demonic energy surged and the sky shook. Black clouds rumbled and one could see a red light shining in the sky. Hong Long. The light from the black clouds shrouded Lin Fan. Scoff, you overestimate yourself. Sect leader waved his arm and a few spear sparks appeared. He placed the spear on his back and looked at everything calmly. Elder Black Prison stepped forward and said with his head lowered, Sect leader, I am useless. I didn't suppress this kid immediately and brought losses to the sect. I don't blame you. This kid's cultivation is really shocking. As expected, Lin Wani's son is extraordinary. However, there is something wrong with his brain. Even if he has grown up, he should know his place. The sect leader said. To the sect leader, Lin Wani's son's cultivation wasn't weak, but compared to his father's brain, the difference was too big. Elder Black Prison said, Sect leader, I wonder if that kid is dead. Dead. No one can survive the immortal murdering spear. The Grand Master said confidently. That strike just now was filled with an intense killing intent. This lad should have turned into an incomplete corpse by now. That's true. Black Prison nodded his head. Sect leader was right. This was a top Dao artifact, and along with sect leader's Dao Realm Stage 7 cultivation, how could he not kill this kid? Even if he faced Lin Wani, he would still be able to put up a fight. Sect leader, actually it would be a waste to kill him. If we captured him alive, his research value would be much higher. Black Prison said regretfully. If it was possible, he wanted to spend some effort on Lin Fan to study how this kid became so strong. Scoff. The sect leader scoffed coldly. When he attacked young master, his outcome was already decided. Black Prison instantly reacted. Right, Lin Fan attacked young master. With how protective the sect leader was, how could he let him live? Naturally, he would kill him. He was thinking too much. Suddenly, a voice spread out from below. Oi, I say, you guys are way too arrogant, aren't you? Your young master is truly fine. Lin Fan patted his body and stood there without any injuries at all. You spear-wielding old fellow, despicable, cunning, don't be too confident. Truthfully, it was just too terrifying. Lin Fan knew that this person was definitely at Dao Realm Stage 7. That move was just too strong. If not for the recovery ability of the Blood Demon Reversal technique, he would have knelt there. Of course, even without the Blood Demon Reversal technique, he wouldn't have died, but he would have been badly injured. Dual Cultivator Dao Realm Stage 3, facing a Dao Realm Stage 7 expert, there was a huge gap. Leave. Anyway, he had absorbed a lot of rage points, so it was okay for him to stay. Getting beaten up was not his style. Naturally, he would leave if he could. How is that possible? Black Prison was shocked. He didn't expect that the kid didn't die. Not only did he not die, but he was perfectly fine. From head to toe, he didn't even lose a single strand of hair. Damn. This was something that he didn't dare to believe. Not to mention that he was already stunned. Even the sect leader was so shocked that he didn't know what to say. How was he fine? Even if he didn't die after being hit by the celestial slaying spear, he definitely wouldn't have ended up like this. Goodbye. Lin Fan waved his hands. Heaven-covering demon sect's trip had ended, and it was best if they returned to their own homes. He had already obtained what he wanted. At the same time, he personally sensed the heaven-covering demon sect leader's strength. It was really terrifying. Dao Realm Stage 7 should have been the peak realm that experts could reach. As for Stage 8 and 9, no one had reached it. Lin Fan even thought about a possibility, which was that there were many hidden experts who chose to go into secluded meditation to break through to a higher realm. There was a path ahead, but they didn't know how to take it. Naturally, they would go into secluded meditation to find a path that others didn't know how to take. Kid, where are you going? The sect leader hollered in rage. How could he let him run? Naturally, he had to chase up and kill him. Lin Fan turned his head and waved his arm. Sword intent surged out and covered the sky. Sword seeds flew out from his body one after another. His eyes were filled with disdain and he smiled. If you have balls, then chase me. I am looking forward to it. Instantly, the sect leader didn't act rashly. He sensed terrifying power from the sword intent that covered the sky. He believed that if he really chased the kid and the sword intent landed in the sect, they would suffer heavy losses. Even if the elders defended, it would be the same. If you aren't going to chase me, then I am really leaving. Lin Fan left with a smile. The sect leader sucked in a deep breath. Kid, I will remember you. I hope that you will be so lucky next time. Slowly, when Lin Fan stepped into the dimension, he waved his arm and clenched his fingers. Not good, the sword seeds instantly covered the sect leader and the others. With a loud explosion, the sword seeds exploded and the chaotic sword intent ripped apart everything around. Damn thing! The sect leader hollered. He stood in the air unharmed and his gaze was dark and cold. As expected, it was really strong. His choice just now was the right one. Junior brothers. Elder Black Prison saw his 3 junior brothers fall from the sky with their eyes rolled back and their bodies covered in blood. He immediately caught them. He probed and heaved a sigh of relief. Luckily, their lives weren't in danger. The sect leader clenched his fists and his face was dark and sunken. Black Prison, heaven-covering demon sect, stop the war with Celestial Alliance and gather all our strength to find this kid. I want to turn his bones to dust. Black Prison frowned. Sect leader, will the other evil alliance sects be unhappy if we do that? The war between the 4 alliances was really intense. The reason for fighting was always so random. But since they had already started, there was no turning back and they could only continue to fight. What is there to be unhappy about? Heaven-covering demon sect isn't the only one who didn't join in. Think about Celestial Alliance's Guasian Island and Buddha Alliance's White Lotus Saint Purity Mountain. During this period of time, have you seen them fight? To be able to reach the position of the sect leader, one had to be really meticulous. For example, Guasian Island was jumping around at the start, but then they disappeared. That meant that there was a huge problem. Although he wasn't sure what the reason was. Thinking about it, there weren't many of them. Black Prison thought about it and frowned. That did seem to be the case. Don't worry, sect leader, I understand. The sect leader nodded and looked at the situation below. He was furious. That jerk actually destroyed heaven-covering demon sect to such a state. He really deserved to die, he deserved to die. The reason why he could not wait to find Lin Fan and kill him right now was because he had seen the potential of the other party. He was really terrifying. He was 10 times, 100 times more terrifying than Lin Wani. He thought about how Lin Fan was able to escape today. What would happen after a period of time? No one would be able to stop him, and the entire sect would be wiped out in an instant. A few days later, what happened to heaven-covering demon sect spread throughout Evil Alliance. Not only Evil Alliance, but the other 3 alliances and even the Alliance all found out about it. After all, the shockwaves above heaven-covering demon sect wouldn't lie. Looking at the tragic state of heaven-covering demon sect, it was just so terrifying. Who would dare to cause trouble here? Who would dare to imagine that? Under the investigation of some people, they found out that the person who caused trouble at heaven-covering demon sect was actually the wanted Lin Fan. All of them were shocked. They were filled with disbelief. He caused trouble in heaven-covering demon sect, and even the sect leader personally attacked. To be able to let Lin Fan escape, how strong was he? That wasn't something that normal people could imagine. Especially when Evil Spirit Old Ancestor from 9 Evil Spirit Hall found out about it. Who knew if he was gloating or if he was worried about it? His blood lotus was taken by Lin Fan, and he was greatly affected. From then on, he hated and hated Lin Fan. He wanted to drink his blood and eat his flesh. But Lin Fan's strength was just too unreasonable, and he was helpless. He could only swear that one day he would make Lin Fan pay the price. But now that heaven-covering demon sect was in trouble, his mood became slightly better. After all, he wasn't the only one who was unlucky, and there was someone to accompany him. Hayes, but when he thought about his own situation, he sighed. What a waste. Sometimes, he wanted to smack his stupid head. Why did he have to act cool and take out the blood lotus to show off? He underestimated Lin Fan and ended up taking a huge loss. If the heavens gave him another chance, he swore to the heavens. If he acted cool, he would be a dog. P.S. I have rested for a long time. Tomorrow I will work hard to get back to my previous update rate. Chapter 473. Recently, the Alliance headquarters seized the chance when the four alliances were fighting to attack some normal sections. At the start, the Alliance headquarters occupied 31 Imperial Dynasty cities. During this period of time, the Alliance headquarters occupied 40. The speed at which the Alliance headquarters occupied territory was too quick. If no one stopped them and they continued to occupy, the outcome would be catastrophic. When the time came, half of the territory would be taken away by the Alliance headquarters. The peace faction in the Alliance slowly disappeared. The Alliance suffered a huge blow, and even some of the Alliance members who supported the peace faction started to change. Their hearts changed, and they felt that it was a good idea to fight. Till now, they hadn't faced any problems, and the Alliance headquarters was having a smooth journey. Large amounts of resources were transported back, and the lack of resources within the Alliance was alleviated. In the face of huge benefits, some members of the peace faction gradually disappeared and joined the ranks of the pro-war faction. In the Alliance meeting room, a bunch of 9-star generals gathered here. We have noticed the gathering place of the city defense members. We should wipe them all out. As one of the strongest 9-star generals, Zhu Daoshan hadn't had a good time recently. The main reason was that he hadn't done much. Wu Zhiga kept silent and didn't say much. But he agreed with this mission. Most of the problems the Alliance headquarters faced were caused by the defense members. They hid in the dark and found a chance to attack to stop the Alliance. Although the Alliance killed many of them, they also caused huge problems for the Alliance headquarters and they lost many people. If not for them, the Alliance headquarters wouldn't have only occupied 40 cities. Even 50 or 60 wouldn't have been a problem. Marshal Crimson Firmament said, "This Marshal thinks it's time to take action and suppress all these remnants." I agree too. Now is a good time. The four alliances don't have time to restrict us, and we can use some energy to deal with the remaining people. Once we deal with them, we can gather the alliance's fighting strength and occupy. The 9-star generals gathered here all wanted to fight. The resources were just too huge. When they saw the resources transported back from the rich land, they had never expected that they would feel so good. At the same time, they agreed with why the rich land was called that. It was really rich. Was temple. Abbess Miaozhen's expression was gloomy and her heart was filled with grief. She descended from the distance while carrying a corpse. The surrounding disciples quickly gathered around, wanting to ask about the situation outside. However, when they saw the corpse in Nun Miaozhen's arms, everyone was dumbfounded. Senior sister, someone recognized the corpse. It was Yu Yunmeng, their senior sister. She was the personal disciple of Abbess Miaozhen. She had entered the sect relatively late, but no one expected such a thing to happen. Master Miaozhen, what happened to senior sister? A disciple asked. They could not accept such an outcome. Last time, senior martial sister brought a man back. Master Miaozhen was furious. In the end, the man left was temple. No one knew where he went, but the disciples who were close to senior martial sister knew that the man lived on a mountain near was temple. Thinking about it, it seemed to have been a month. Nun Miaozhen shook her head and didn't say much. She walked towards the Wuz temple. The group of disciples looked at each other in dismay. Master brought senior sister to defend against the alliance, then, they didn't dare to think about it. They all knew that the alliance was a dangerous existence. Now that senior sister had become like that, it could only mean that something bad had happened to her when she fought against the alliance. Li Mountain. Evil god Zhen Ming was one of the higher-ups of Hell Mountain and was terrifyingly strong. Since that battle, he hadn't left Richland and had been staying here. At that moment, Zhenming sat by the shore and held a fishing rod in his hand. He shook his wrist and a fat fish broke out of the water and was pulled up. Not bad. Zhenming smiled. This was a huge change from the dark and evil him in the past. Suddenly, a figure hurriedly ran over from afar. Brother Zhenming. It was a teen who ran over. She had no experience in the mortal world, so she didn't enter Wu's temple. But she was already a disciple. Zhenming looked towards the voice and knew who it was. However, his expression didn't change much. He stayed here not because of Yu Yunmeng but because he felt a bit of release in his heart. He didn't have many thoughts about returning to Hell Mountain and just wanted to stay here for a while to experience life. Why are you here? Zhenming asked. He continued to cast the hook. The hook landed in the water and didn't move at all. The teen looked at Zhenming and wasn't afraid because of the patterns on his face. Instead, she sobbed, "Senior sister, senior sister." But before she finished, Zhenming interrupted her. "Don't mention her in front of me." Zhenming rejected. Others might not know what happened between the man in front of her and her senior sister, but she knew everything. Senior sister rejected him because of Wu's temple. People from two different worlds wouldn't be together. "Go back, this isn't a place for you to stay." The teen hollered, "Senior sister is dead." But Zhenming's arm shook and ripples spread out from the hook. But very quickly, the ripples disappeared. He kept silent for a long while, and no one could tell what he was thinking. He just replied calmly, "Oh, so what if she is dead? What does it have to do with me?" Zhenming replied cleanly without any emotions at all. But if one looked closely, one would notice that the patterns on his face were shaking and his arm was shaking at a speed that couldn't be seen by the naked eye. How did this happen? The teen sat on the ground and looked at Zhenming in disbelief. "You like my senior sister?" Zhenming glanced at the teen and smiled. "You like it?" "No, I don't like her. I was just curious about her in the past. Now that I am not curious, I don't like her." "Oh right, who killed her?" "Impossible, impossible, you aren't the big brother Zhenming I know. The big brother Zhenming I know shouldn't be so heartless." The teen shook her head and didn't reply to Zhenming. Zhenming frowned. "I am asking you, who killed her?" At that moment, Zhenming's voice was a little dark and sunken. It struck the teen's heart and terrified her. She climbed up and ran back. "It is the Alliance, it is the Alliance, you aren't the big brother Zhenming I know, I hate you." Zhenming looked at her slowly disappearing body. His originally expressionless face suddenly underwent a shocking change. "Damn!" He raised the fishing rod in his hand and smashed it towards the lake. Pung! The lake's surface exploded and numerous dead fish appeared. How did this happen? Zhenming clenched his fists and his eyes were filled with blood. Green veins appeared on the surface of his skin and vengeful energy rose up, causing the space around to twist. That night. The night was silent. In a room, the lights were dim and a corpse laid there. The sound of footsteps spread out. A hand was placed on Yu Yuming's face. Not long later, the hand slowly disappeared, and it was as if no one had come to the room at all. In another room, Nun Miaozhen seemed to have sensed something and opened her eyes. Her gaze seemed to be looking at Yu Yuming's location. After a long while, Nun Miaozhen closed her eyes and didn't move at all. In a certain forest, flames lit up the area. During the period of time Lin Fan left heaven covering demon sect, he became more well-behaved. His rage points didn't change from start to now. In his own words, the feeling of going to a top sect and causing trouble was really too great. Look at his rage points, it was just so terrifying. Rage points, 1500355. It reached 1,000,000 right away. It was really stable to use it to raise Dao Realm technique. Improve. To raise one Dao Realm technique required 210,000 rage points. With his current rage points, it was enough to raise 7 Dao Realm technique. From 90 Dao patterns, he gained another 7. Now that he had reached 97, He was very close to reaching 100. Lin Fan cultivated and merged the Tao patterns into his body. He was really satisfied with his own strength. Tao Realm Stage 5 was easy to suppress. As for Tao Realm Stage 6, he still needed some methods. As for Stage 7, it was really terrifying. Especially when he faced peak Stage 7 experts like the heaven-covering demon sect leader. His strength was just too shocking. When the spear struck, it was tough for one to block. If one was a dual cultivator and had 90 Tao patterns, one's foundations would have reached a shocking level. Any dual cultivator at Tao Realm Stage 3 would have died to him. At that moment, Lin Fan was thinking about where he should go next. Evil Alliance and Celestial Alliance had caused trouble. As for Buddha Alliance and Monster Alliance, there was no need for them to do anything. His own thoughts were simple, which was to find trouble with the alliance. If he ranked them based on hatred, the other 4 alliances would have to stand to the side. The one he really had a huge conflict with was the alliance headquarters. If it wasn't for the alliance headquarters, then such a thing wouldn't have happened. Lin Fan was peacefully living as a rich young master in U City and didn't need to worry about food and drink. But regretfully, because of the alliance's arrival, his days were all destroyed. Even his father was lost by him. He was really confident in his own strength, and even if he faced the strongest 9-star generals, he wouldn't be afraid. So what if he couldn't beat them? Could they kill him? He didn't have the ability to fight them head-on. But he knew how to run. He would change places, and even if he did, he would destroy the alliance. Lin Fan got up and looked around. He was still in the Evil Alliance territory, so he had to rush through the night and enter the Alliance territory. He hadn't returned to U City in a long time, and it was time to take a look at the situation there. If it was possible, he didn't mind teaching the Alliance members who occupied U City a lesson. He wanted to tell them that they were finished. P.S. I really want to promote a book called Just Want to Be Low Profile. It was written by my good brother in real life and he just wrote it. I have to help him promote it. Everyone, vote for him and give him some motivation. Thank you. Leave some comments, leave some recommendation votes, and so on. Chapter 474. Sniff. Sniff. This smell is close to home. Lin Fan took in a deep breath. Although he wasn't in U City, this place was similar. Anyway, it was different from the air outside. But along the way, the thing that Lin Fan was unhappy about was the fact that the once beautiful scenery had been destroyed. All that was left were many giant holes that turned into a wilderness. Damn Alliance members. They actually destroyed the scenery of his home. They really deserved to die. Suddenly, cry for help spread out from afar. It sounded like a girl. So unlucky? He wasn't interested in being a hero and saving a beauty. The main reason was that he was afraid of trouble. But this was Alliance territory and basically only Alliance members move. If a girl was being chased, then the person chasing was definitely an Alliance member. Regarding this, he absolutely could not tolerate it. Here girls were rare. Take a look at the people around him. Which one of them had a partner? They were all single. If they didn't want to get closer, they would get further away. Uncle Wu, Zhang Xing, etc. Which one of them wasn't single? He didn't think so much about it. Every second he wasted was one more minute of danger for the girl. Lin Fan wasn't someone who liked to be a busybody, but when he faced such a situation, no matter who it was, he had to help. In the distance, "Girl, stop running, you won't be able to escape." Hee, I didn't expect the natives to have such a beautiful girl. I am so lucky. A woman looked flustered, but she didn't lose her attractiveness. Not far behind the girl, there were 3 men in hot pursuit. These 3 men were ugly and had wretched expressions. Anyone who saw them would have the urge to beat them up. One would even have a feeling. If such a beautiful girl fell into the hands of the three of them, it would be a waste. No, no. Someone save me! The girl shouted in panic. Her voice was really gentle and it made one want to protect her. Not far away, Lin Fan wanted to save the girl, but all of a sudden, he felt that something was wrong. He looked at the three men and saw that they were all cultivators. Then, he looked at the girl. She was clearly a weak girl who didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken. She was just a weak girl. He frowned. Damn it, three men with cultivation couldn't even catch up to a woman without cultivation. Even a fool wouldn't believe it if he told this to them. There's a problem. Let's keep looking. I keep feeling that something is wrong. Lin Fan wasn't in a rush to attack. He wasn't a fool and he knew that something wasn't right. It was rare for a hero to save a beauty. Moreover, this was Alliance territory, so why would a girl appear in the wilderness? That didn't make sense. But it was true. Those three men were really infuriating. They attracted too much hatred, and their expressions were as wretched as they could be. If it was an ordinary person, he would definitely not be able to hold it in and would directly attack. He would jump out and appear in front of the girl like an unparalleled hero stepping on colorful auspicious clouds. In just a few moves, he would defeat the three men and win the girl. Logically speaking, this was the normal situation. Lin Fan hid in the dark, not anxious or impatient. He was just wasting some time. Time ticked by. The situation in the distance changed drastically. I am not running anymore, I can't run anymore. The girl bent her back and panted. Sweat flowed down her forehead and she waved her hands towards the guy behind her. Can't you chase slower? Why are you chasing so quickly? It would be too fake if we were slower. It has only been an hour, so why can't we run anymore? The guy frowned. In his heart, he felt that the girl was too pretentious and couldn't even hold on for such a short period of time. I am a girl. All of you have cultivation, but I don't. Although the natives are stupid, they aren't that stupid, okay? The girl was unhappy. If not for the Alliance headquarters instructing her, she wouldn't have wanted to suffer like this. The guy said, No, the Alliance headquarters analyzed it. The natives have a high sense of justice, especially those at the border. They won't sit still and do nothing. This is the best method to attract them out. The woman didn't say much. She naturally understood this point. This wasn't the first time, and she had succeeded a few times in the past. There were natives who took the initiative to jump out when encountering such a situation. She was a woman who didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken, so how could she arouse the suspicion of others? Thus, she basically succeeded 100% of the time. Lin Fan, who was hiding in the dark, was tongue-tied. Damn, as I expected, I didn't expect the Alliance to be so scheming. Lin Fan was most afraid of people playing with his head. Now that the Alliance was starting to do such things, how terrifying was it? If Cousin was beside him, he would have beaten up these few people. But he learned some secrets from their conversation. There were also border experts hiding in the Alliance territory, who knew whether or not Zhao Lishan and the others were there. Sword Palace Sword Head was also defending against the Alliance. If they gathered together, they would be a terrifying force. Maybe they had rested long enough. They started to act to attract people to save the damsel in distress. If there wasn't anyone here, then they would go somewhere else. He couldn't allow them to continue like that. Since that was the case, then he had to do something. The woman was still trying her best to call for help, and the three men behind her were also chasing her wretchedly. Honestly speaking, after acting for a long time, it felt really good. Just at that moment, footsteps spread out from the distance. The three guys with some cultivation looked at one another and were delighted. Someone was hooked and the show continued. Who? The three of them hollered in rage and looked into the distance. Slowly, a person walked over. It was like the girl had seen her lifesaver. She cried and ran in front of Lin Fan. Young master, save me, they want to. Woo woo woo. She was weeping like a pear blossom in the rain, and anyone who saw her would feel pity for her. A normal man would naturally hold his head high and puff out his chest to protect the delicate woman behind him, and reprimand the three shameless people. In broad daylight they actually did such beastly actions. That was something that couldn't be tolerated. Lin Fan smiled. Don't worry with me here, you don't need to run. His smile was as bright as the sun. The girl's heart shook. What a warm smile, but what a waste. The goal of the three men was not to capture Lin Fan, but to catch a big fish. What was the use of one person? They wanted to make the other party believe that the woman was in trouble, and then they would bring the woman back and catch them all. Who are you? One of the perverted guys asked. Lin Fan said, I am just passing by. Passing by? The perverted guy scoffed coldly. Kid, I advise you to be smart and hand the girl over. If not, I will teach you a lesson. When the girl heard this, she shrunk back. Her slender jade hands tugged at Lin Fan's sleeves and said pitifully, Young master, save me, if I am caught by them, my innocence will be ruined by them. There was a lot of information in those words. Innocence meant that she was still clean and hadn't been ruined. Young master saving her meant that he would get a pure and flawless me. As for the word desecrate, it made one's imagination run wild, and there was a hint of movement. Suddenly, a shocking scene happened. Lin Fan grabbed the girl's wrist and then pushed her forwards. Please, do as you please. They were stunned. The three guys were stunned. This was different from what they expected. It wasn't according to the script, and it was a little terrifying. Not only were they stunned, but the girl in the middle also stopped crying. When she came back to her senses, she knelt down and cried, acting pitiful. Kid, what do you mean? The perverted guy frowned and asked. Naturally, he didn't treat his words seriously. At the same time, he thought to himself, was he acting? Impossible. How could they find out that he was acting? There had to be something going on. Maybe the kid felt that he couldn't beat the three of them alone, so he used a plan. That was possible. If he knew that this would happen, he wouldn't have chased with the three of them. He would have chased alone to give him some confidence. Lin Fan twisted his neck and his expression slowly changed. He said unhappily, Damn, I walked for a month and didn't even see a single girl. I heard some noise here, so I came to take a look. Not bad, this girl is really interesting. But as the saying goes, first come first serve. Since you all found her, then you all can go first. After you are done, I will go and I will definitely make her scream. *CK your mother. Was he still human? Or was he a righteous native that the Alliance analyzed? He was just too evil. Young master, you. The girl looked at Lin Fan in disbelief. She forgot to cry once more. The situation had changed a little and it shouldn't have been like this. Hee. Lin Fan smiled. His smile was a little evil, like he had found prey. His gaze was really aggressive and the girl's body tensed up. The perverted guy thought about it. How could it be like what Lin Fan said? Kid, are you playing with us? Brothers, let's kill him. They didn't expect that they would face such a person. But even if the situation changed slightly, it wouldn't stop them from doing what they were about to do. As for what happened next, he would leave it to her. The three of them were really weak. If he attacked, he would be able to instantly kill them. But he was used to giving them chances. Pung! The three of them didn't know what happened. They only felt that the scene in front of them changed and they flew backward, smashing into the ground. So strong. That was the only thing they felt, but they were still able to stay conscious. So weak. Lin Fan was filled with disdain. He walked in front of the girl whose mouth was agape. He reached out and touched her chin. Voila! Lin Fan grabbed her leg and dragged her into the distance. Feels good, this feels so good. The girl reacted and her expression was one of panic. She was even so terrified that she peed her pants. She cried out and reached out towards her 3 companions who were lying on the ground. "Save me! Save me!" The 3 of them got up and exchanged glances with one another. They personally witnessed the girl being dragged into the depths, but they couldn't do anything. "What should we do?" one of them asked. He was really stunned. They tried so many times, but this was the most terrifying. "What else can we do? It is worth it to sacrifice everything for the success of the Alliance. I believe that she is mentally prepared. But she is shouting for help. She is just trying to confuse them. Trust her, she can definitely do it. As for what happens next, it is just a reversal of the process, right? P.S. With a knife on my neck, I have no choice. Let's promote, just want to be low profile once more. Let's go take a look." Chapter 475. Don't do this, please don't do this. Young master saved me and I am really grateful. I am willing to do anything for you. Naturally, I am yours, but I can't. Please don't be so impatient. The girl's face turned ashen white and she sensed that something terrifying and cruel was about to happen. No, it wasn't a feeling, but it was actually happening. She was tied to a tree and the way she was tied was really unique. But one could use one sentence to describe why she was wearing Pinru's clothes. The girl looked at Lin Fan in terror. The scenes that were about to happen appeared in her mind. It was really embarrassing and it was hard to describe with words. Kaki. Lin Fan didn't bother about her and just gave out a chilling laugh. The girl felt like she was about to die here. If she could return alive, she would definitely beat those people who said that the natives were righteous people. Was this the righteousness that he was talking about? Not long later. The binding was over. Lin Fan said, "Do you have anything to say to me?" The girl thought that he would start right away and torture her to death. She was prepared to treat it like she was ked by a dog. In her heart, she was willing to sacrifice herself for the Alliance. "Young master, you saved me, so from now on, I am yours. Why are you so anxious? Can you put me down?" the girl said pitifully. Facing such a perverted person, she could only act even more pitiful. She wouldn't believe the analysis of the Alliance headquarters anymore. It was all a lie. Lin Fan shook his head. Not that, something else. People nowadays were just too dishonest. Since the Alliance wanted to play tricks, then he would play with them. He didn't believe that he couldn't beat them. The girl blinked her eyes in shock. She was really lost and innocent. Something else? There was really nothing else. "Young master, I don't know what you mean." Continue acting. Lin Fan smiled. "You are from the Alliance, right?" Shock. The girl looked at Lin Fan in disbelief. He knew where she came from. Impossible, how did he know? "Young master, I really don't know what you are talking about." The girl didn't admit it and acted dumb. Maybe if she acted a little better, she would be able to get away with it. Lin Fan raised his hand and pointed at the girl. He looked around, searching for something. After looking for a long time, he didn't find anything suitable. Thinking about it, it was hard to find something in the wilderness. "If you have the guts, show me what you're up to." The bug controlling technique aura spread out and started to search for a target. In the end, he found it and locked onto the male wolf who was trying his best to make a human. The woman shook her head, still pretending not to know anything. She didn't know what she was going to face next, but as a special talent of the Alliance headquarters, she had gone through professional training and was able to face everything without changing her expression. Even if the other party used some kind of terrifying method, rough panting sounds could be heard. The woman looked into the distance and her heart tightened. What was that? Damn it, how could there be such a terrifying wolf? After the buff of the bug controlling technique, the wolf that was originally thigh-high grew to the height of a human. It looked really terrifying, and disgusting saliva flowed out of its sharp teeth. This is a male wolf that was just with a female wolf. I brought him here halfway. If you don't tell me, then what happens next has nothing to do with me. You can do whatever you want," Lin Fan said. His methods were really cruel and perverted. Moreover, he had no bottom line. "Young master, don't do that." The woman's pupils constricted, and she broke out in a cold sweat. She didn't dare to imagine what was going to happen next. Lin Fan didn't bother and waved his hands. The human-sized wolf stared at the woman with green eyes and pounced towards her. Such a perverted scene naturally frightened the woman so much that she didn't care about her professionalism. "I will speak," the woman screamed in fear. When the wolf arrived in front of the woman, it stopped. "I am from the Alliance." The woman didn't hide anything and directly revealed her identity. Lin Fan said, "Why didn't you say so earlier? I don't like to do anything to women, especially people like you who have no strength at all. Killing you is an insult to me." "How did you contact the Alliance?" He knew that the woman could contact the Alliance. "What?" The woman was stunned and didn't understand what Lin Fan meant. But when she saw Lin Fan's gaze, her heart shook and she didn't dare to hide anymore. "There is a chip under my skin that can send my location to the headquarters." The Alliance and Richland didn't speak the same language, but the Alliance's technology level was really high and they had spread the language of Richland to the education platform. As for whether or not he understood the chip, she didn't lie. Lin Fan's guess was right. As expected, that was the case. The other party's trick was indeed very easy to trick. A woman with no cultivation was in danger and someone saved her. Even if she was suspicious, thinking about how she had no cultivation, she would relax. Lin Fan would then take the chance to trick her. Lin Fan released the woman and told the wolf to leave. "You should have said so earlier. Then, we wouldn't have wasted time. Contact them and tell them to come over. But don't play any tricks, otherwise you will have to bear the consequences." The woman was shocked and didn't expect him to have such a request. She always thought that he would kill her to hide from the Alliance. Who knew that he would ask to fight the Alliance head-on? She didn't understand what he was thinking. But it didn't matter. She just wanted to satisfy his arrogant thoughts. The woman tapped the skin on her wrist like there was a button there. Lin Fan paid attention to the situation around. This was the Alliance's territory, and based on what the Alliance wanted, they would definitely install some equipment around. But he had dragged her here for a period of time, and no Alliance experts had come. That meant that there was no equipment here at all. Was it because the hidden border guards knew about the existence of the equipment, so they dismantled the equipment that they discovered? That was possible, but he wasn't too sure. Alliance main camp. A bunch of workers looked at the screen in front of them. Suddenly, a red light lit up and rows of data appeared on the screen. Shortly after, a three-dimensional map appeared. "We have discovered that the natives are hiding at 32. 85 degrees 34. 2 degrees north latitude, 119. 57 degrees 120. 45 degrees east longitude. It is of a high grade and there are Dao realm experts there." General Qi Shao immediately ordered to arrange for several Dao realm experts and some below to wipe out the native. The signal that the woman sent to the Alliance was of the highest grade. She couldn't see through what was going on with this person, but she felt that he was definitely dangerous. Naturally, she didn't dare to be careless and hoped that a bunch of experts would come to save her. Just as she was thinking about all this, she realized that Lin Fan was tying her up and she exclaimed, "Young master, what are you doing? I did everything you told me to." "Don't be nervous. I was afraid that you would run," Lin Fan said. Yen %%. The girl wanted to scold him. She had no strength at all and was already in his hands, so how could she run? How could she be so shameless? But she had no choice. She was in his hands and had no ability to fight back at all, so it was best for her to be well behaved. At the same time, what she was most furious about were her three companions. They knew that she was in danger, but they didn't come to save her. Damn. Do I look familiar to you? Lin Fan asked. The Alliance had been hunting him down. Logically speaking, since these people were able to do the mission here, they should have seen his arrest warrant. But since they didn't recognize him, that made him a little unhappy. No matter what, he, Lin Fan, was once a person in the limelight. Now that he stood in front of her for such a long time without being recognized, that was a little embarrassing. He felt like he had lost a lot of face. The girl looked at Lin Fan in terror. She really didn't recognize him. Slowly, she frowned. You, Lin Fan smiled and nodded. It was obvious that she recognized him? I really don't know who you are. The girl shook her head. She thought for a long while and really couldn't think of anyone. The smile on Lin Fan's face retracted and he was a little unhappy. She didn't know who he was? What was wrong with the Alliance? They had already ordered him to be hunted down, but they didn't let everyone know. Did they really not care about him at all? Killing intent appeared in Lin Fan's heart. This wasn't killing intent towards the girl but towards the Alliance. Maybe only by doing something that would cause the Alliance to collapse would they respect him. Suddenly, Lin Fan sensed the dimension fluctuation. It should be in the distance. It seemed like the people from the Alliance were here. They didn't come here because they wanted to scout the situation. They are here, Lin Fan said to the girl. She was delighted and then said pitifully, Young master, I have done what you told me to do. Can you let me live? Okay, no problem, Lin Fan said. In the distance, several 9-star generals hid carefully. As for the generals, they followed behind. The natives hiding in the Alliance territory were all experts from the border defense. They weren't weak and they couldn't be careless. If they faced a top expert, they would need the support of the Alliance headquarters. Very quickly, the 9-star generals looked at the person in the distance. Just one person? Hong Yen frowned and felt that something wasn't right. I will attack later. If the situation is bad, we will retreat right away and inform the Alliance headquarters to send the strongest 9-star generals over. Looking at the situation, it should be a young man. It is best to be careful. There are many experts at the border. They had all fought with them before and some of them were really strong. The one that left a deep impression was an old priest who was really amazing. Hong Yan's expression was solemn. He raised his hand and a sharp energy whirlpool gathered in his palm. He then tossed it into the distance. The whirlpool entered the dimension and there was no sound at all. In the blink of an eye, it appeared behind Lin Fan. Lin Fan tilted his head and the whirlpool shot over. With a piercing sound, it sliced the girl tied to the tree into two. What? Hong Yen was shocked. He didn't expect him to react so quickly. Lin Fan turned his head. All of you are a little cruel. Chapter 476. Lin Fan looked at the girl who died and felt a little helpless. He couldn't be blamed for this. He was someone who kept his promise. If he said that he wouldn't kill her, then he wouldn't. But if her own people killed her, then he couldn't be blamed. Who knew that this would happen? What a waste. But she didn't die for nothing. Those people who were conned by him were probably waiting for him down there. Hong Yen and the other 9-star generals were shocked that Lin Fan could dodge. As for who died, it didn't matter. Much less a girl with no cultivation at all. The situation was a little off, but Hong Yen didn't retreat. After all, there was only one person. They had so many generals, so how could they not take down a kid? You even killed your own people. Don't you feel guilty at all? Lin Fan looked at the people who came. He had attracted them over. But one had to say that the Alliance really prepared well. 4 9-star generals came and 10 generals came. This was really terrifying combat strength. But what a waste. To Lin Fan, these few people weren't enough at all. They weren't even enough to fill the gaps between his teeth. Lin Fan realized that the way the old man looked at him was a little off, like he was thinking about something. This made him a little emotional. Did they recognize him? I should try to ask him, probably to satisfy the vanity in his heart. Do you recognize who I am? Lin Fan asked. He was a little arrogant. If other people were wanted by the Alliance headquarters, they would have peed their pants and hid wherever they could. How would they dare to provoke an Alliance 9-star general? At that moment, not only did Hong Yen recognize who Lin Fan was, but so did the others. It's you, Hong Yen was shocked, and the wanted poster appeared in his mind. Lin Wanni's son, Lin Fan, I didn't expect you to have the courage to step into Alliance territory. Apart from expanding the map, the Alliance headquarters had been searching for Lin Fan. Based on their analysis, Lin Fan's existence was a hidden danger to the Alliance. If they noticed him, they definitely couldn't let him live. Lin Fan was unhappy. I am not happy with your words. What son of Lin Wanni? I am Lin Fan. Why don't I have the courage to step in? Let me tell you, not only have I stepped in, but I will also make your Alliance cry for your parents. Preposterous. Hong Yen hollered, Lin Fan, there's a path to heaven but you refuse to take it. There's no door to hell but you insist on coming. Then, don't even think about letting me leave. The reason they came here was to wipe out the natives at the border in one go. Even though he didn't meet any natives at the border, it wasn't a loss to be able to kill Lin Wanni's son. Killing him early would save him trouble in the future. Ha ha, what a joke. A Dao Realm Stage 4 dares to say such words in front of me. Don't say that I didn't give you a chance. Attack together, otherwise you won't have a chance. Lin Fan raised his hand and made a humiliating gesture. It was as if he was saying that he wanted to fight 10 of them. Rage points exploded. Hong Yen was furious. For the sake of his dignity, how could an Alliance 9-star general accept such humiliation? Kill. A strong killing intent rose up, and the space around Hong Yen gradually twisted. A terrifying aura burned on his body, making him look like a peerless demon god. Kid, since you are asking to die, then I shall grant you your wish. Hong Yen hollered in rage, and a 10,000-foot light exploded from his body. It was so blinding that one couldn't even open their eyes. At that moment, a giant body appeared above Hong Yan's head. It was the astronomical phenomenon body, and it gave off a really strong aura that could destroy heaven and earth. Die. The giant body punched forwards, causing the space around to twist and shatter. A strong energy wave ripped through the area and the dimension appeared. This fist contained the most terrifying power of a Dao Realm Stage 4 expert. Lin Fan was really calm. He raised his head and looked out. The aura was indeed shocking, but that was it. There wasn't much else to it. At that moment, Lin Fan clenched his fingers and muttered, "If such strength can make you think about suppressing me, then I can only say that you are a little too naive." The moment he said this, he punched out fiercely. Hong Long. The sky was ripped apart and the dimension shattered. A bright aura roared forwards and pressed down on Hong Yan's body. What? Hong Yen was shocked. He felt an unstoppable power sweep towards him that he couldn't block at all. There was a loud explosion. Hong Yan's astronomical phenomenon body shattered, and he felt intense pain all over his body. He couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Lin Fan stood on the spot without moving at all. Everything in front of him was covered by the fist light and he couldn't see what was going on. But one didn't need to think to know that the situation wasn't good. Alliance Headquarters. DD. General, there is an energy whirlpool at the place where Hong Yen and the others are heading to. The energy has reached peak Dao Realm Stage 6 and it is really dangerous. The technician looked at the screen in panic. A dark red cloud appeared on the screen and at the same time, data analysis appeared. What? General Qi Shao was shocked like he had seen a ghost. Peak Dao Realm Stage 6 strength? Then forest. Ah. What kind of power is that? What fist technique is that? How is it so strong? General Hong Yen spat out fresh blood and his shirt was ripped apart. Only his underwear was left and it fluttered in the wind. He was in a bad state and he fell to the ground. It was as if he had just come out of a mental hospital. Behind him, the generals and 9-star generals were in a tragic state too. They didn't take it head-on, but when the ripples spread towards them, they felt an unstoppable force land on their bodies, and they couldn't block it at all. Thus, their outcome wasn't any better. All of them laid on the ground and rolled around. I am a little unhappy with your strength. Lin Fan shook his head. What a despicable fellow. In the past, 9-star generals were so out of his reach. Moreover, a Dao Realm Stage 4 9-star general was an unscalable mountain to him. Hong Yen was in a frenzied state. He was totally convinced by Lin Fan's strength. How strong and terrifying was that? But because of that, he was traumatized. Lin Fan walked towards Hong Yen and the others. He wasn't prepared to give them a chance. He needed to raise his reputation in the Alliance headquarters and let them understand how stupid it was to let them do whatever they wanted. Thus, only by killing some 9-star generals would they understand. He looked down at Hong Yen from above. A smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He attacked like lightning. Poochie! Poochie! His fingers were like sharp blades that pierced through everything in front of him. They didn't reach Dao Realm Stage 6 Undying Body, otherwise, he would have to spend a lot of effort to kill them. Lin Fan grabbed with his fingers and left with the corpses. What happened next was a little arrogant, but he definitely wouldn't be sending them to their deaths. Instead, he would be giving the Alliance a huge gift. A long while later, the Alliance 9-star generals arrived. General Qi Shao was just a Dao Realm Stage 5 expert, but he had no choice. Zhu Daoshan and the others had gone to wipe out the border natives, so how could there be so many 9-star generals? If they were deployed, time was of the essence and they wouldn't be able to make it in time. But when he arrived and saw the scenes in front of him, he knew that it was too late. The battle had ended. General Qi Shao was stunned for a moment and then his face turned dark and sunken. Investigate. Investigate for me. You must find the culprit. The Alliance members who followed all shivered. They sensed how terrifying the aura from General Qi Zhao's body was. He was really on the verge of exploding. Yes. General Qi Shao didn't know who did it. If he knew that it was Lin Fan, his mouth would have been agape from shock. After all, his improvement speed was just too quick. East Forest. Lin Fan came to a familiar place and naturally, he reminisced about the past. The Yin demons were so friendly and provided him with large amounts of rage points. But at this moment, this place was really quiet. It was totally silent and there was no sound at all. The trees weren't like before, giving one a dark and sinister feeling. A few streaks of sunlight shone in and brought a bit of light. The Yin demons are all gone. Lin Fan shook his head and felt that there was a high chance that the Yin demons were killed by the Alliance. What a waste! He was someone who was nostalgic. Although the enemies in the past were annoying, they were decent people. Now that they disappeared just like that, he felt a little reluctant. He left the East Forest. There was a loud explosion. In the distance, one could see that there were large machines operating. The ground shook and a thick layer of dust rose up. They are destroying the environment. Lin Fan was really unhappy. For a good place to be dug up by the dogs of the Alliance, that was just so annoying. Forget it. He would let them off and settle the things at hand before dealing with them. U City. Lin Fan floated in the air. This was his old home and he enjoyed the life of a rich family young master. But because of the Alliance, he lost everything. Just thinking about it made him furious. City Alliance Meeting Hall. This wasn't the main camp of the Alliance, and could only be considered an important contact point. Like the other cities, after occupying this place, they would use it as a base to slowly eat up the rich land. At this moment, at the gate, 2 Alliance guards were casually chatting. Their days were boring and boring. The Alliance had gained a foothold in the rich land and didn't have many enemies. Even if they did, they wouldn't care. They knew that the 4 alliances were at war. They would let them fight, and when both sides suffered heavy losses, it would be time for the Alliance to occupy them. As for the Imperial dynasty, naturally, one didn't need to say much. They were puppets that the Alliance raised and could do whatever they wanted. They could vent all their unhappiness on them. This made them feel really proud as members of the Alliance. Suddenly, a corpse fell from the sky. With a thud, it landed on the ground. The 2 Alliance members jumped up in fear. When they saw the corpse, they were stunned and felt like they had seen it somewhere before. Very quickly, the 2 of them reacted. Wasn't that an Alliance general? How did this happen? They raised their heads and looked into the sky and noticed that someone was floating there. At that moment, the alarm of the entire U City rang. Lin Fan was noticed. Chapter 477. U City shook. This was the first time the alarm sounded since they occupied U City. Numerous experts rose into the air to search for the invader. Lin Fan landed on the ground where he used to live. He felt a sense of familiarity, like he had returned to the past. You have a good eye to know how to treat my old home as your main camp. Lin Fan ignored the 2 Alliance members who were guarding the door and walked in leisurely. One of the Alliance members was covered in sweat. He struggled in his heart and then hollered, "Stop right there!" Pung! Lin Fan didn't even look and slapped him. He turned into a cannonball and flew into the distance. The other Alliance member was stunned. If Lin Fan asked him if he dared to move, he would definitely shake his head and not dare to move. He really didn't dare to move. He returned to his old home. Even if he closed his eyes, he would be able to feel everything clearly. He walked towards the back courtyard. Many Alliance members appeared on the way. Lin Fan's appearance shocked them and they were filled with disbelief. They then charged towards Lin Fan, but to Lin Fan, these people were just too weak. Pili Pala. He dealt with him really easily. On the streets, U City 9-star general learned that someone was invading and started to search. The member who was slapped away by Lin Fan laid on the ground and no one knew if he was dead or alive. When the general saw this, he looked towards the main camp. He waved his hands and brought people over. General Juha cultivated the blade path and was at Dao Realm Stage 5. He was one of the top experts in the Alliance headquarters. Of course, he wasn't the only 9-star general in U City. There were many other strong 9-star generals. To them, someone invading U City was a huge matter and couldn't be dealt with so casually. Lin Manor. Lin Fan returned to his room and moved a chair over. If Go Zi was by his side, he might have asked him to bring some fruits over so that he could enjoy life. I have to snatch this place back. He looked at the sky. It wasn't so blue anymore and was a little gray. As expected, the sky depended on who lived in it. I'm right here. Since you're already here, come out. Stop hiding. There was movement around. He was surrounded by Alliance experts. An old man slowly walked out from the darkness. Shwa. Following that, figures appeared all around Lin Fan, sealing off all his escape routes. Even a fly would find it hard to escape. I was wondering who dared to come here. So it's young Master Lin. Isn't it good to hide outside? Why must you come here to die? Marshal Juha recognized the person lying there. The 9-star generals all knew about the Alliance headquarters bounty. The cause of the war between Evil Alliance and Celestial Alliance was definitely related to him. Lin Fan smiled and pointed, "Not bad, I didn't expect you to recognize me right away. Since you have such good eyes, I will let you live and let you live." Marshal Juha didn't get angry. Instead, he laughed. "Interesting, this is really interesting. Look around you. Do you think you can leave this place safely?" Lin Fan's expression was calm, but his eyes were filled with confusion. Are you saying that you can stop me by relying on numbers? Actually, I don't think you should be so confident. Confidence often brings disaster. Then Lin Fan got up and sighed. I have left this place for several months and I miss it. So, when I passed by Evil Alliance, I wanted to come back to take a look. Where are Wu Zhiga and Zhu Daoxin? They were lucky to escape last time, but I don't think their luck will continue to be good. Am I right? What did you say? Juha didn't understand what he meant, but it wasn't important anymore. He nodded towards a 9-star general and told him to take Lin Fan down. The 9-star general standing at the east corner disappeared like a ghost and appeared beside Lin Fan in the blink of an eye. His fingers landed on Lin Fan's shoulder. Kid, if you don't want to die, then don't move. He didn't think that Lin Fan could escape from his hands. General Juha said, Young Master Lin, please stay here for a period of time. I think you will be able to see your partners soon. Zhu Daoxin and the others chased the border natives. Under normal circumstances, naturally, there wouldn't be any problems. The Alliance headquarters paid a huge price to deal with these natives. After all, to the Alliance headquarters, these people were like sharp blades hanging on their necks. If they didn't wipe them out, they would always feel like there was danger in the dark. What do you mean? Are you saying that the Alliance is doing something again? Lin Fan asked. He didn't know much about the Alliance, and it was just the overall situation. Imperial Dynasty, just the 4 alliances. General Juha smiled. There is no need to ask. Young Master Lin will find out soon. We are really curious about where Lin Wani is. Maybe young Master Lin can help us. I am also searching for my father. If the Alliance knows where he is, then you can tell me. But I didn't come here to chat with you. I am prepared to deal a heavy blow to your Alliance. Lin Fan smiled calmly, and then his gaze turned solemn and unhappy. But with your current strength, you won't be able to stop me. General Juha was amused by Lin Fan's words. Right as he wanted to say something, his pupils constricted and his heart shook. What happened in front of him was really unexpected. The 9-star general who placed his palm on Lin Fan's shoulder didn't know what happened. His head felt like it was pressed down by someone and smacked into the ground. There was a loud explosion. The ground shook. Lin Fan prepared a combo. After his palm landed on the ground, he stepped down. He was really quick. It was so smooth that one didn't even have time to blink. What? Marshal Juha was greatly alarmed. All of these changes happened too quickly. It was so fast that people couldn't react in time. Lin Fan brushed off the dust on his hands and said in disdain, Just a Dao Realm Stage 2 9-star general. In the past, you were someone, but now you don't even have the right to lick my shoes. Just as Lin Fan said this, a cold light struck from the sky. Marshal Juha drew his blade, becoming one with it as he slashed through the air. Lin Fan stood on the spot, his fingers forming a sword, and he stabbed forwards. Clang! The space shook and sparks flew. The sound of explosions spread out. General Juha's blade technique was really high and naturally, many of his techniques were at return to true realm. But if one really wanted to compare who had cultivated more secret manuals to returning to true realm, there really weren't many people who could beat Lin Fan. General Juha didn't dare to believe what was happening in front of him. He slashed out hundreds of blades and each blade was really terrifying. But Lin Fan didn't use a weapon and used his fingers to block. That was something that General Juha couldn't accept. Kanglin! General Juha hollered in rage. Dao patterns roared out and the power of heaven and earth surged down. Blade intent exploded and a cold and majestic intent rose up. Kanglin intent was cold and the waves were like waves. It was really sharp and cold, the waves were endless. The power was huge and the killing intent was really sharp. Slash. The light was really eye-catching and the sky was ripped apart by this blade intent. The entire area seemed like it had been sliced into two. The current Marshal Ju, he was like a saber sovereign. How could others compare to him? Hong Long. The blade light landed and gave off an unlimited amount of light. The light was really sharp, and even the space around was sliced open. The surrounding 9-star generals were shocked by General Juha's strength. At the same time, they were confident that Lin Fan wouldn't be able to survive in his hands. Slowly, even if the light dissipated, the surrounding space was still covered in a cold blade intent. General Juha sucked in a deep breath and his arms trembled. That move just now was his strongest saber Dao. If not for Lin Fan being so skilled, he probably wouldn't have been so serious. Suddenly, a voice that General Juha didn't want to believe spread into his ears. A decent blade, it even made me take a step back, Lin Fan said. Looking closely, one could really see that Lin Fan had taken a step back. Apart from his clothes being a little dusty, there was nothing else. General Juha was shocked. Cold sweat flowed down his forehead, and he exclaimed in his heart. What kind of monster was this? The latest news that the Alliance got was that Lin Fan was only at Dao Realm Stage 3. Although Stage 3 was not bad, there was still a gap between him and him. I said that I would let you live, so I will. Lin Fan took a step forward and instantly appeared in front of Marshal Juha. He pointed out with a finger and Dao patterns exploded forth. To Marshal Juha, he only felt an irresistible force rushing towards him. This power spread to his limbs and bones. There was a loud explosion and his body trembled. Lin Fan retracted his hand. General Juha's eyes lost the light and he slowly became listless. His body went soft and he fell to the ground. He was a man of his word. He said that he would give him a chance, so he definitely wouldn't take his life. Uproar. The surrounding 9-star generals panicked. The difference in strength was obvious, and even General Juha was suppressed. With their strength, how could they be his match? Where is the expert? Lin Fan looked at them. Yu City is such an important place, so don't tell me that he is the strongest. Everyone was really nervous and didn't know what to say. General Juha wasn't the strongest in Yu City. But the strongest 9-star general went to wipe out the natives and wasn't here at all. At that moment, some Alliance dogs panicked and sneakily went to inform the Alliance headquarters. Something huge had happened. Yu City was invaded by natives and General Juha was suppressed right away. The other 9-star generals didn't dare to fight back. Alliance headquarters. DDD. The staff frowned. Damn, what was going on? Why was it beeping so much? But when they saw the content, the Alliance members couldn't keep calm anymore. Not good, native experts have invaded Yu City. General Juha has been defeated and the other 9-star generals have surrendered. The members who saw the news exclaimed. When everyone heard this, they all blinked their eyes in a daze. What was he saying? To them, this was a little too much. It was a lie, right? Yu City was invaded by natives and General Juha was defeated. Just thinking about it made them feel that it was impossible. Chapter 478. If the 9-star general surrounding Lin Fan found out that someone didn't even know the truth and said that they had surrendered, they would probably explode on the spot. That was just too much. The Alliance headquarters found out about Lin Fan's appearance in Yu City. This was something that the Alliance headquarters didn't expect at all. Most of the 9-star generals had missions, so how could they find people to head to Yu City? General Juha was at Dao Realm Stage 5 and even he wasn't his match. Even if they sent more 9-star generals, it would be useless unless they sent Dao Realm Stage 6 9-star generals. But the current situation meant that there weren't many Dao Realm Stage 6 9-star generals who were free. Why? Don't you have anything else to say to me? Lin Fan looked at them. These 9-star generals were all experts from the Alliance headquarters. But now that they were facing an expert that they couldn't fight back against, the helplessness that seeped out covered their hearts. Lin Fan, this is Alliance territory. What do you want? An Alliance 9-star general thought about it for a long while, and his expression slowly calmed down. With their strength, they weren't able to do anything to Lin Fan. The Alliance headquarters definitely knew about the situation here and would send experts over. As long as they delayed until then, everything would be perfectly solved. Lin Fan smiled. I don't want to do anything. No matter what, this was my home. Alright, I want to ask you something. After you occupied U City, where did you bury the people? For some reason, they suddenly realized that when Lin Fan asked that question, he was indeed smiling. But for some reason, there was a dark and solemn aura that covered all of them. This, the 9-star generals didn't reply. They felt that something wasn't right. There was a ball of rage hidden deep in his heart. I am asking all of you a question. Are you not even going to reply? Lin Fan glanced at one of the 9-star generals. You, tell me, where did you bury them? The expression of the 9-star general that Lin Fan pointed at changed. Fear spread throughout his body. No. He was an Alliance 9-star general, so how could he be afraid because of his gaze? Embarrassing, that was just too embarrassing. They were buried in a hole outside the city. Purring. You, the 9-star general who replied to Lin Fan, lowered his head in disbelief. An arm pierced through and fresh blood flowed out. He felt like his body was empty and his heart was in Lin Fan's hands. You are really unlucky. Poochie. Lin Fan crushed his heart and the Alliance 9-star general died. Such cruel methods shocked everyone. How could you kill him? Some 9-star generals couldn't help but say. They were too quick and in the blink of an eye, a 9-star general died in front of them. To them, this was a precious talent of the Alliance. To nurture a marshal, not only did it require a huge amount of resources, but it also required a very long time. Just a moment ago, he had destroyed a genius who had worked hard for decades. Lin Fan smiled. Interesting. After the Alliance occupied U City, you killed all of us. Now that I am back, naturally, I am here to take revenge. He is the first but definitely not the last. Are you all prepared? As soon as he finished speaking, the marshals panicked. Run, run quickly, don't make unnecessary sacrifices. None of them were fools. They knew that the gap between them and the other party was truly an insurmountable chasm. Marshal Juho was so powerful, but even he was not a match for the other party, let alone them. Therefore, to them, escaping was the only option. Darkness God Domain. Lin Fan stood on the spot and smiled. He activated the Chief God Domain. Instantly, the gray veil expanded with Lin Fan at the center and covered the entire U City. What happened? The Alliance members in U City raised their heads. Just now, they felt their hearts tighten like they were being squeezed by something. Just as they were filled with doubts, a shadow shot over like a cannonball and smashed into the ground with a loud rumble. They didn't know what it was, but when they looked closely, they realized that it was the 9-star general. The 9-star general was in a bad state. His skin cracked and fresh blood covered his body. He looked at the Alliance members around and said weakly, "Quick! Inform the headquarters." He said those words with much difficulty. Then, his neck tilted and he lost all feeling. Did the general faint? Someone asked. No, he is dead. The person who said that stared at the 9-star general's chest. There was a bloody hole there, and one could see the white bones within. It was just too tough to survive from such injuries. Quick! Listen to the general and ask for help from the headquarters. At this moment, Lin Fan was prepared to start a massacre. He thought about those people who were sacrificed when he came to U City. That battle was fresh in his mind. In the end, only a few people survived. All the experts went all out against the Alliance. A 9-star general panicked and fled. He didn't expect Lin Fan to be so crazy to come to U City alone and start a massacre. They didn't have the ability to block him at all. Suddenly, his body shook and a voice that terrified him spread into his ears. Where do you want to run to? The 9-star general turned his head uneasily. Lin Fan, I am an Alliance 9-star general. You are asking to die by killing people in U City. Although he was a 9-star general and his cultivation had reached Dao realm, when he faced Lin Fan, he actually panicked. Lin Fan reached out and grabbed the back of his head. He used strength and pressed him to the ground. With a loud explosion, the ground cracked and a giant hole appeared. Lin Fan, I have no grievances with you, so why are you doing this, Pucci? Lin Fan's sword slashed down and pierced his head. His methods were really vicious, and he didn't give him any chance at all. A Dao realm expert died just like that. It was really a waste. Today, I will kill so much that the Alliance will cry for their parent. Given Lin Fan's current cultivation state, what he was doing was equivalent to bullying the weak. In his hands, there was no way that these Dao realm powerful beings could hold out at all. He dealt with 2 9-star generals consecutively, causing the Alliance headquarters to suffer huge losses. But this was just the beginning. He wanted to give the Alliance headquarters a huge gift, which was to kill all the 9-star generals in U City. That was a crazy thought. But it wasn't difficult at all. He knew that the Alliance headquarters would definitely send people over, and during this period of time, he had to kill all the 9-star generals who were fleeing. In the distance, a 9-star general was fleeing. How could this be? How could this lad be this strong? This is something that should be impossible. Pung. He teleported through the dimension and wanted to flee, but suddenly, he felt like he had smashed into an iron board. An invisible iron board. There was no one blocking him at all. What was going on? Impossible, even a domain can't stop me from teleporting through the dimension. What is going on? The 9-star general hollered and wanted to destroy the obstruction in front of him. But no matter how hard he tried, the obstruction was still there. This is the chief god domain. With your cultivation, naturally, you won't be able to break it. Lin Fan appeared behind him like a ghost. The 9-star general's pupils constricted and his expression turned into one of panic. Lin Fan, let's talk about this. I think we should have something to talk about. What a waste. What welcomed him wasn't anything to talk about but an iron fist. In other words, it was a fist the size of a sandbag. Pung. The fist smashed into the general's face and his features twisted. He opened his mouth and blood spurted out. His body spun like a top and smashed into the ground. You are so weak that I have nothing to say. You are just Dao Realm Stage 2. Lin Fan waved his hand and flung the blood off. Explosions spread out from within U City. The Alliance members in U City had uneasy expressions on their faces. They could see dust rising up from all corners of the city, and there were buildings that were broken. The ripples from the battle spread out and covered everyone. To them, this was already quite friendly. The gap in strength between Lin Fan and these 9-star generals was just too huge, so there wouldn't be any intense clashes. This was why the ripples that spread out weren't like waves that struck one after another. Instead, they were short-lived and occasionally swept everything. Pata. Lin Fan stepped on a 9-star general with one foot. To a 9-star general, this was a humiliation. He didn't beg and just stared at Lin Fan in rage. Fresh blood seeped out of his mouth. Kiki native, don't think that I will beg for mercy. Alliance 9-star generals aren't afraid of death. Now, there is probably a massacre happening somewhere. Those people that you have high hopes for are being tortured by our 9-star generals. Haha. The 9-star general laughed in a maniacal manner and his expression was one of madness. Lin Fan frowned. What do you mean by that? Scoff, how can I tell you? I just want you to know that things aren't what you think they are. Cry for their death. The 9-star general raged and was prepared to die. He definitely wouldn't tell him the exact location. He just wanted him to know that such a thing was happening. Pucci. Lin Fan used strength in his feet and Dao patterns exploded, instantly smashing the 9-star general's head. He then raised his head and looked at the endless space. He knew that the border defense experts were hiding in Alliance territory and would occasionally cause problems for the Alliance. His words clearly told him that what was happening now had a lot to do with him. Not good. Lin Fan thought about one possibility, which was that the Alliance headquarters had found out where they were hiding. Since he stepped into the Alliance's territory, the Alliance tried to trick him into coming out. Based on the Alliance's characteristics, this might have happened. Lin Fan didn't worry about anything else. He rose into the air and looked around. He didn't sense any fluctuations in the air. At that moment, he disappeared from the spot and headed into the distance. Chapter 479. Lin Fan didn't destroy U City. This was his old home, and it was temporarily controlled by the Alliance headquarters. But one day they would snatch U City back, so if it was destroyed too badly, then it would be a huge loss. Within a certain room in U City, a fat researcher had a terrified expression on his face as he typed on the keyboard with both hands. He reported what happened in U City back to the Alliance network. He used really exaggerated words to describe what had happened. The native expert trampled the Alliance expert, and at the same time, he recorded many videos which exploded in the Alliance. From the start, the occupation of the Alliance headquarters gave many people hope. They felt that the natives were just SOSO and weren't their match at all. But the content taught them a huge lesson. When the Alliance headquarters came back to their senses and wanted to ban the content, they realized that it was too late. U City was an important place. Now that it was suppressed by the natives, that was something that the Alliance headquarters couldn't accept. This was why when they found out, they sent 9-star generals over. Moreover, it was a special assignment. When a Dao Realm Stage 7 9-star general came to U City, his expression was really solemn. The situation around wasn't good. Although there weren't any heavy damages, he saw the corpses of no less than 4 9-star generals. Juha was suppressed by Lin Fan and fainted. When he woke up and saw the situation around, he was totally stunned. He then searched for Lin Fan, but he couldn't find him at all. Juha, what is going on? Just as Juha was stunned, he heard this voice and came back to his senses. When he saw who it was, he heaved a sigh of relief. Is Lin Wani here? The person who came was one of the strongest 9-star generals in the Alliance headquarters, Yellow Springs. He wasn't in Richland but at the border of the Alliance. He visited Hell Mountain and Ocean Emperor Island, but he had no choice. The Alliance headquarters said that U City was under attack and needed the strongest 9-star generals, so he could only rush over right away. Juha said, "No, it is Lin Fan, Lin Wani's son." "How is that possible?" Yellow Springs frowned. "How can Lin Wani's son have such cultivation? You are at Dao Realm Stage 5, so how can you not be his match?" At this moment, even if Marshal Juha didn't want to admit it, there was nothing he could do. This was the truth. He lowered his head and said helplessly, "General Huang Quan, this old man is indeed not his match. There's a huge gap between us." Marshal Huang Quan stared blankly, clearly stunned by Marshal Juha's words. He didn't see it with his own eyes, so it was hard for him to imagine what had happened. But if Lin Wani was able to suppress them, that was something that was inevitable. But now, his son was actually able to suppress them? This was simply unimaginable. That could only mean that the Alliance headquarters analysis was wrong. Lin Fan wasn't as strong as they said. He was much stronger and much more terrifying. Bastard! Yellow Springs Marshal released his senses to search for traces of Lin Fan. However, Lin Fan had long left this place, and there was no trace of him at all. Where did he go? Where? Lin Fan sensed the void in the distance. However, he could not sense any ripples at all. It was as though nothing had happened at all. As long as there was the slightest shockwave from the battle, he would be able to detect it. Although he didn't know who was hiding in the Alliance territory, it was definitely one of them. Then, in the sky above the Alliance territory, a person sped through the dimension and searched for the shaking void. As long as he attacked, he would be able to sense it and find some clues. A certain place. "We can't leave, we have been surrounded." The person who spoke was Zhao Lishan. Since he gave up Laozhan City, he didn't leave the Alliance territory. He hid and searched for a chance to deal heavy damage to the Alliance. They succeeded several times and the Alliance treated them as enemies. As long as they knew where they were, the Alliance would definitely wipe them out right away. Old Shin frowned. How did the Alliance know where we were hiding? Did someone betray us? Zhao Lishan said, "No, don't suspect the people around you. We are all brothers who fought against the Alliance, so how can we suspect one another? We were just too careless and the Alliance found out where we were." Old Shin kept silent. He knew what Master Zhao meant, which was to not suspect anyone. But he had to suspect others as it was tough for them to find out where they were hiding. Moreover, there were people who were good at hiding. Each time they moved, they would be really careful and definitely wouldn't leave any traces. But he had no choice. Since Master Zhao had already said that, then what else could he say? Old Master Wang sat there and smoked. "Now, us old fellows will charge out. You young fellows should find a chance to run." Hu Luo, whose face was covered in pimples, shook his head. "Old Master Wang, we aren't prepared to run. At most, we will continue to fight them." Zhao Lishan looked at Sword Head, who was sitting cross-legged and comprehending the sword. "Sword Head, how confident are we in killing our way out?" Sword Head opened his eyes and a sharp sword intent shook within. He then shook his head. "The chance is slim. The Alliance sent many experts, and even I am not their match. But if we fight to the death, we might have a chance of living." The fact that Sword Master was with Zhao Lishan was also a coincidence. Since the Alliance occupied Defense City, Sword Head returned to Sword Palace to give some instructions before returning to fight to the death with the Alliance. However, when he returned, Daoist 3 lunatics and the others were no longer around. He did not know where they went. Later on, he met Zhao Lishan and the others and stayed with them. Instantly, a furious roar spread out from the outside world. "Natives, come out. Stop hiding. We have already noticed your tracks, so how long are you going to hide for?" The voice was like thunder. Zhao Lishan and the others had solemn expressions on their faces. Even if they didn't fight, just from the voice, they knew who it was. Moreover, they weren't weak and even they might not be able to do anything to him. Wu Zhiga and Zhu Daoshan, the 2 strongest 9-star generals, were here. They weren't lucky a while ago. They weren't able to complete the missions that the Alliance gave them and they faced a rare reputation crisis. Now, they needed to complete some things to regain their reputation. Thus, they were in charge of wiping out the natives. Logically speaking, they just needed to send one of the strongest 9-star generals to deal with these people. But they had no choice. Zhu Daoshan and Wu Zhiga needed to do something to prove themselves. After all, those stupid Alliance citizens had been slandering them. What strongest 9-star generals? They were old? It was useless. They couldn't do anything. Just thinking about it made them furious. How could they swallow this insult? "Wu Zhiga, don't fight with me later," Zhu Daoshan said. Wu Zhiga giggled. "Why would I fight with you? Let's see how strong we are. Without Lin Wani leading them, they are just scattered sand. So what if they hide? As long as they are noticed, they will die." As the 2 strongest marshals chatted, the marshals and generals behind them didn't dare to speak. Zhu Daoshan turned his head and pointed at the people who followed. "All of you are not allowed to attack, do you hear me?" Strength was just overbearing. The moment he said this, the people behind didn't dare to say anything. They only had one thought in their hearts. The 2 of them were the strongest 9-star generals, so naturally, they would listen to them. They would do whatever they said and wouldn't resist at all. Just at that moment, A sword intent surged up from below, charging into the clouds and slicing open the sky. Decent sword intent, it can compare to the top sword expert in the alliance. Zhu Daoshan wasn't stingy with his praises. At the same time, he felt much happier. He didn't expect that he would be able to catch a big fish. Maybe only Sword Head could be considered a big fish by Zhu Daoshan. Shortly after, another burst of aura erupted. Zhao Lishan and Sword Head stepped out and floated in the air. Alliance, you are really skilled to actually find us. Wu Zhiga smiled. Not bad, I didn't expect there to be two big fishes. As for those people, they are just small fries. Not bad, not bad. Everyone present, only Zhao Lishan and Sword Head were treated seriously by the Alliance's strongest 9-star generals. The others were just SOSO and weren't worth mentioning at all. General Zhu, do you really not need us to attack? The 9-star general who followed asked. Zhu Daoshan waved his hands. No need, just watch. You don't need to worry about anything else. The 9-star generals dissed in their hearts. It was really unbearable. If they didn't need to do anything, then why did they come here? Were they here to watch a show? Sword Head's expression was solemn as he looked at the two strongest 9-star generals. If they didn't meet, although he wasn't confident, he still had some hope. But now that he saw them in person, he knew that he had no confidence at all. Not to mention the two of them, even one of them was hopeless. But to cultivate the sword, one had to be courageous. Even if one knew that they couldn't win, one wouldn't retreat. At that moment, the sword intent on Sword Head's body surged and became even more terrifying. His mental energy reached its peak. With a xiao, a sword spun around his body. He took in a deep breath, and the millions of swords from Sword Palace swept over from afar, forming a sword path river in the air. Although I will die today, I won't regret it. What a waste, I will end Sword Palace's foundations. Sword Head's eyes shone with a sharp glow and he was prepared to fight. Zhao Lishan smiled. Everyone has their own talents. Sword Palace's sword path is the path of the predecessors, and you are walking your own path. Do you think that no one in the future can surpass you? The Sword Head revealed a smile. Brother Zhao is right. I have underestimated the later generations. Okay, since that is the case, then I will give up on life and activate the massacring sword path to contribute to the future. The moment he said this, a shocking aura exploded from Sword Head's body. Slaughter seethed, and the heavens and the earth were suffused with a horrifying might. Chapter 480. Pung! Pung! Two loud explosions rang out. Sword Head and Zhao Lishan couldn't fight back at all in Wu Zhiga's hands. They were smashed deep into the ground like cannonballs, causing thick dust to rise up. What kind of trash are you? You can't even hold on for such a short time in my hands? Wu Zhiga stood with his arms behind his back. His expression was cold and the aura of an expert spread out from his body. We agreed to take one each, but now you are taking two each. Isn't that a little too much? Zhu Daoshan was unhappy with Wu Zhiga taking two each. He also wanted to show off. To prove himself, he had waited for this day for a long time. But looking at what Wu Zhiga did, was that even something a human could do? Wu Zhiga said, how? Even when the two of them work together, they aren't my match. If you let them face one each, what will happen to them? Zhu Daoshan had nothing to say and he didn't know what to say. Wu Zhiga's words made sense. Even when the two of them worked together, they weren't their match, much less one-on-one. Wasn't that just bullying them? Hong Long. The ground shook. A sharp sword intent broke through the sky. Sword Head looked into the sky with a solemn expression. He and Zhao Lishan worked together and were shocked by their terrifying strength. But even if they weren't their match, they wouldn't retreat. Sword Head, even when we work together, we aren't able to gain an advantage. It seems like this will be our last battle. Zhao Lishan said. Sword Head stretched out his arm and opened his fingers. He drew a circle in the air, and the millions of swords behind him spun up like a sword dragon. Brother Zhao, we will try our best. The moment he said this, Sword Head roared and pressed down with his 5 fingers. The sword dragon roared, and one could vaguely see a real dragon within this sword dragon. Decent sword technique, but unfortunately, you chose the wrong opponent, Wu Zhiga said calmly. He loved the current feeling. This was the treatment that one of the strongest 9-star generals in the Alliance deserved. He looked at the shocked and worshipful gazes that were all gathered on him. Needless to say, that feeling made him feel really good. A sharp and murderous sword intent attack. Wu Zhiga slowly stretched out his hand. In the eyes of others, Wu Zhiga's palm was expanding endlessly. Then, with a loud bang, it clashed with the sword dragon. Heaven and earth shook, and the sky became extremely unstable. As expected of the strongest 9-star general, the marshals who followed were very envious. They also wanted to be as strong as Wu Zhiga. Just thinking about it was enough. How could it be so easy to achieve? Sword Master, your moves aren't bad. You're using the foundation of Sword Palace to fight with me. It's not bad that you can do this with your strength. But if that's all, it's far from enough. Wu Zhiga's lips curled into a smile as he clenched his fist. With a loud rumble, the space around him shattered as the sword dragon was destroyed. A powerful backlash swept over Pucci. The sword master was heavily injured and his body swayed. He couldn't help but cough out a mouthful of blood as he stared at Wu Zhiga in shock. He hadn't expected the difference in strength between them to be so great. How is that possible? Sword Master didn't expect things to turn out like this. Were the Alliance's strongest 9-star generals so strong? How is it? Wu Zhiga smiled and asked. Out of the natives, only Lin Wani could make him feel pressure. As for the others, he really didn't care about them at all. Suddenly, Zhao Lishan realized that Sword Master's aura was a little different. His expression changed and he wanted to say something, but Sword Master stopped him. Sword Master shook his head. He stepped forwards and his sword intent boiled. A shocking aura exploded from Sword Master's body. Wu Zhiga frowned and found it weird. Are you going to make a useless struggle? Sword Master's body shook. A red aura covered his body and an extreme killing aura covered the area. I cultivate the sword and I cultivate the breath in my heart. Today, I will use my strongest sword to fight the strongest 9-star generals. The moment he said this, Sword Master raised his head and looked at him. A sword intent that shouldn't exist in the world broke through the clouds. The sword intent was like a rainbow that stirred up the entire area. 1. The area shook and a shocking phenomenon occurred. Suddenly, some of the Alliance 9-star generals exclaimed. They discovered something strange. The weapons in some people's hands were trembling, and a visible aura floated out from the weapons and flew towards the Swordmaster's head. Not only did the surrounding situation change, many visible auras swept over from the distance. Initially, Wu Zhiga didn't care about this scene at all. But gradually, his expression turned solemn. He could feel a sense of danger from this pressure. This made him a little shocked. He really didn't expect this to happen. Zhu Daoshan smiled and asked, "How is it? Do you need help?" His aura is really strong and it is obvious that he has a killing move. Don't die. Wu Zhiga smiled instead of being angry. I am looking forward to it. I hope that you don't disappoint me. Zhao Lishan's expression was solemn. He knew that Sword Master was using his strongest move. As for what the outcome would be, even he didn't know. But he was sure that everything would become terrifying. Brother Zhao, I will lead the way. The moment he said this, Sword Master disappeared from the spot and the area shook. Vast sword intent stirred the area, but there was no sign of Sword Master. It was like he had totally disappeared. At that moment, Wu Zhiga felt like the space around him had been locked down. Even time seemed to have been locked down. Danger. He didn't expect that Sword Master could actually make him feel danger. To others, Sword Master seemed to have disappeared, but to Wu Zhiga, Sword Master didn't disappear and was just around. Pucci. At that moment, a wound appeared on Wu Zhiga's arm and fresh blood flowed out. No one knew what was going on. He didn't even see who attacked, and his arm was sliced open for no reason. Brother Wu, when Zhu Daoshan saw Wu Zhiga's situation, he couldn't help but worry. But Wu Zhiga stood there without moving at all. His expression didn't change at all. Pucci. Wu Zhiga's neck tilted slightly and a wound appeared on it. He was terrified. The marshals at the back looked at the scene in shock. They didn't know what had happened and just noticed that wounds had appeared on Wu Zhiga's body. Such a weird situation was the most terrifying. Wu Zhiga's expression was cold and there was no emotion at all. He was serious and didn't underestimate him like before. Pucci. Suddenly, many wounds appeared on Wu Zhiga's body. They just appeared out of nowhere and no one was able to react. Zhu Daoshan wanted to see the exact situation. But regretfully, even he didn't notice what the problem was. How did Lin Fan do it? Was it an invisible killing technique? What is going on? Do you need help? Zhu Daoshan asked. They were the strongest 9-star generals in the alliance, and they couldn't let anything happen to them here. Wu Zhiga didn't reply. He seemed to have entered a weird state. It is indeed problematic. That old man was right. When one cultivates the sword and goes all out, one will be able to use unimaginable power. Your current performance is not bad. But everything about you is under my control. The moment he said this, Wu Zhiga opened his fingers and grabbed towards the air. With a smacking sound, he grabbed Sword Master's neck and pressed him to the ground. There was a pung. The ground shook and cracked. At a speed that normal people couldn't see, he slapped Sword Master several times. Hong Long. Sword Master's body flew backward and he smashed into a giant stone in the distance. Blood flowed all over his body and his eyes lost their usual glow. Everything was really dim. You really are a decent sword cultivator. Unfortunately, the gap between cultivation isn't something you can cross, but it is already not bad that you can injure me. Wu Zhiga praised Sword Master. The injuries on his body contained terrifying sword intent that destroyed the life force in his body. If it was a normal person, naturally they wouldn't be able to block it. But to Wu Zhiga, these were just minor injuries. Wu Zhiga looked at Sword Master and had a high evaluation of him. Although he was trying to hit a rock with an egg and overestimating himself, his final move was really decent. However, the final move was indeed very good, giving him quite a headache. The formless attack was simply impossible to find a flaw. But regretfully, he was facing one of the strongest 9-star generals in the alliance and there was nothing he couldn't solve. Sword Master Zhao Lishan was shocked and his eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. He realized that Sword Master's aura was really weak and if he couldn't be healed, the outcome would be really terrifying. Sword Master had already fainted. Maybe because the move he used was too terrifying and it took a huge toll on him, many cracks appeared on his skin. Master Zhao, bring Sword Master away. We will open up a path for you. Old Shin said. He knew that even if all of them worked together, they definitely wouldn't be his match. But no matter what, they had to buy time for Master Zhao. Even if they worked hard for their entire lives, they might not be able to catch up to him. But Master Zhao was different. Although his cultivation was weaker, as long as he had some time, one day he would be able to suppress him. Zhao Lishan shook his head and didn't say anything more. He knew that it was useless. The Alliance headquarters actually sent 2 of the strongest 9-star generals for them. That was something that he didn't expect. When he defended Maigu City, he only faced 9-star General Mao Shintai. Mao Shintai was Dao Realm Stage 5. However, the two experts they were facing right now had already surpassed them by far, far too much. Fleeing was already an extravagant hope. Zhu Daoshan said, "Leave it to me. No matter what, you should let me perform." He was a little emotional. Although they were the strongest 9-star generals, they needed to prove themselves. They also needed to show everyone that they were old, but they weren't old. P.S. I recommend a book called Wild Producer written by a friend. Those who are interested can read it. He said that it was based on a true story. Scoff. Chapter 481. Wu Zhiga suppressed Sword Head and felt really happy. He had finally done something. This was why when Zhu Daoshan asked him to hand Zhao Lishan over to him, he agreed. Who asked them to have such a good relationship? It was good on the surface but not on the surface. Okay, then I shall leave him to you, Wu Zhiga said and gave Zhu Daoshan a chance to shine. To send out 2 of the strongest 9-star generals to deal with these bastards was like killing a chicken with a butcher's knife. As long as they were caught, they would definitely die. Ha ha ha, good. Zhu Daoshan felt really good and found Wu Zhiga much more pleasing to the eye. The two of them didn't have much interaction with one another. They were both the strongest 9-star generals and would occasionally have conflicts, so their relationship wasn't that good. Zhao Lishan, you will face me next. But don't worry, I won't kill you so easily. Naturally, Zhu Daoshan was confident in suppressing Zhao Lishan. Dao Realm Stage 5 was strong, but compared to the strongest 9-star generals of the Alliance, the gap was huge. Zhao Lishan looked at the fainted sword head and was really calm. He then looked at Zhu Daoshan. One day, all of you will be chased out. Today, I shall see how strong one of the strongest 9-star generals of the Alliance is. Honglong. A shocking fighting intent swept the area like a storm. The wind started to blow. Even if he knew that he wasn't his match, he had no intention of retreating at all. Zhu Daoshan looked at Zhao Lishan like he was looking at a toy in his hands. Old Shun, find a chance to bring people and run. Leave this place to me. Remember, don't come back after you escape. Go find Lin Wani. Zhao Lishan was prepared. He knew that he wasn't his match in a normal battle, so there was only one choice. Maybe he would have a chance of living. His choice was to self-destruct. The impact of a Dao Realm Stage 5 cultivator's self-destruction would be really terrifying. Master Zhao, Old Shun and the others saw the determination in Zhao Lishan's eyes and knew that something huge was about to happen. Zhao Lishan raised his hand and told them not to say anything. Since they had made up their minds, then they wouldn't change anything. What are you all talking about? At such a time, it is best if you don't think so much. Today, all of you will die here. Remember, this is the outcome of going against the Alliance. Zhu Daoshan was prepared to use absolute strength to suppress him. Not to mention how domineering it was. But he had to be more shocked than Wu Zhiga. Suddenly, something was wrong. Wu Zhiga, Zhu Daoshan, and the others frowned and locked onto Zhao Lishan. Very soon, they understood what had happened. Zhu Daoshan hollered in rage, "You are crazy." He did not expect the other party to self-destruct. The surrounding power became very chaotic and berserk. The power of heaven and earth began to boil. Everyone felt as though their hearts were being pressed down by a rock. Such a big gamble? Wu Zhiga took a few steps back. It wasn't that he was afraid of Zhao Lishan, but that the other party was a little too ruthless. If it was anyone else who self-destructed, he wouldn't be afraid at all. But he knew that Zhao Lishan wasn't weak and was at Dao Realm Stage 5. He was so close, and if he really self-destructed, the power that would explode wouldn't be so easy to handle. Ha ha ha, I am prepared. I will use my life to bring some people down and we will earn a lot. Zhao Lishan laughed maniacally. Zhu Daoshan only had one thought in his heart. Crazy. These natives were all crazy. When the Alliance headquarters attacked the border, those natives were really crazy. They self-destructed to die together with them, causing heavy losses to the Alliance headquarters. He wanted to slice open their heads and see whether or not they were filled with mush. They were just sick in the head. Who were they trying to scare by doing such a thing? But please don't say it. He didn't know whether or not other people were frightened, but Zhu Daoshan was. Retreat. Zhu Daoshan and the others waved their hands and retreated into the distance. They maintained a certain distance, not too far and not too close to ensure that Zhao Lishan couldn't escape. This is problematic. If I knew that this would happen, I would have been more decisive and not given him a chance. Zhu Daoshan said. Wu Zhiga said, "This is all because of you. If you were like me and suppressed him right away, then all of this wouldn't have happened." Old Shen obviously wouldn't allow Zhao Lishan to self-destruct. He persuaded, "Master Zhao, run. We will self-destruct to stop them." Old Master Wang shook the tobacco in his hands and said firmly, "Since my son was killed by the Alliance, I just want to fight them to the death. Now that the chance is here, let me do it. Master Zhao, bring them away. Leave this place to me." "It is useless. Your self-destruction won't be able to stop them. Only I can threaten them. Bring Sword Head away," Zhao Lishan said. He knew that no one here was afraid of death. But with two of the strongest 9-star generals here, if one's cultivation wasn't high enough, even if they self-destructed, it would be useless. This was why he had to be the one to do it. "Go!" Zhao Lishan hollered. His eyes were bloodshot and the explosive power in his body was getting more and more uncontrollable. The moment he self-destructed, not only would it cause problems for the enemy, but it would also cause problems for his own people. But all of that wasn't important anymore. As long as most of them survived, that was enough. Just at that moment, an astonishing power was transmitted from the void. Everyone was stunned by this power, and they had no idea what was going on. Sword Seed explode. A familiar voice spread into their ears. Shortly after, the sky shook. A sharp power ripped through the sky and covered all the Alliance dogs. Zhu Daoshan and Wu Zhiga were stunned. They were unable to react at all and didn't know what was going on. Ah! There were screams. Those Alliance dogs that followed were slightly weaker. Under the power of the self-destruction of the Sword Seed, they weren't able to block it at all. Their bodies were ripped apart by a terrifying power. Those below Dao Realm were ripped into pieces. Those with Dao Realm cultivation were all coughing out blood. Those who were slightly unlucky were on the verge of death or had broken limbs. It was a tragic sight to behold. Who is it? Who is it? Zhu Daoshan and the others' eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. Their eyes were spitting flames. With them here, such a thing actually happened. Who would believe that? "It is me." Lin Fan calmly walked out. In the end, he still rushed over. To search for those people at the border. He sped through the dimension and finally felt the space tremble. He rushed over right away. Looking at the situation, it seemed like he was a little late but not too late. Zhu Daoshan looked at the person and his expression changed. He exclaimed, "It is you." He recognized who it was. Even if he turned to dust, he wouldn't be wrong. Lin Wanni's son, Lin Fan. So, it was this kid. Brother Lin. When Hu Luo saw the person, joy appeared on his face. He was really pumped up as he waved his hands and shouted. He hadn't seen Brother Lin in a long time and didn't expect that he would be able to meet him here. "Wah, Little Sword God is here. So, Little Sword God saved us." The people in Laoshan City recognized Lin Fan, and they called him Little Sword God. Lin Fan acted like he was calm, but his heart wasn't calm at all. This title sounded a little weird. "Long time no see. I hope that I am not too late." Lin Fan giggled. Although the situation wasn't good, he wasn't afraid at all. The two strongest 9-star generals were a little problematic, but he still had a way. Old Shin laughed. "Little Sword God is not late at all." Right. Lin Fan was just too young and logically speaking, he shouldn't be able to help much. But for some reason, they trusted Lin Fan and felt like he would definitely be able to save them. "Young Master Lin, why are you here?" Zhao Lishan was stunned. He didn't expect Lin Fan to appear here. He was prepared to die together with the Alliance. Lin Fan said, "I made a trip to Yu City and wiped out some 9-star generals. I heard about all of you, so I came to find you." Zhao Lishan hadn't seen Lin Fan in a long time. Now that he looked, he realized that young Master Lin was much stronger than before. This was just unbelievable to him. At the same time, it proved his thoughts. Young Master Lin's talent was unparalleled, otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to reach such a level in such a short time. Not far away, Zhu Daoshan and Wu Zhiga looked at one another. The people who followed them over were just too tragic. Half of them were dead. The sword seed explosion was something that they couldn't block at all. Even those who survived were badly injured. It was a huge contrast from before. Zhu Daoshan could imagine what he would face when he returned. He failed. Another King failure. In fact, he even began to doubt himself. Could it be that he was really old? He couldn't do anything. No, he definitely couldn't let this happen. "Lin Fan, you are asking to die," Zhu Daoshan hollered. Rage burned and he really wanted to rip Lin Fan into pieces. Lin Fan laughed. "I was wondering who it was. So, it was the two of you. Wu Zhiga, Zhu Daoshan, you are both the strongest 9-star generals and you are so old. Why not just retire at home? Why did you have to come out and cause trouble? Are you really so stubborn?" He had to admit that with his current strength, he really couldn't do much to these two old fellows. If they really fought, he would be beaten up badly. He wouldn't come out to ask for trouble when he faced these people, but he had no choice. He couldn't watch as Zhao Lishan and the others died in front of him. This was why he had to think of a way to save them. Just now, Zhao Lishan wanted to self-destruct to sacrifice himself so that the others could leave safely. That was a good idea. But if he self-destructed, then he would die without a whole corpse. Lin Fan's words struck a chord in Zhu Daoshan's heart and his gaze was vicious. "Kid, you are asking to die." Chapter 482. Stop, please wait for a moment. Lin Fan raised his hand and the furious Zhu Daoshan was stunned. What was this kid doing? He couldn't take this kid's attitude. Maybe Lin Fan's calm expression scared Zhu Daoshan. Lin Fan walked in front of Sword Head. He needs to be healed, otherwise the outcome will be catastrophic. He had never seen Sword Head before and they were strangers. But the aura left in Sword Head's body seemed really terrifying to Lin Fan. Thus, Lin Fan was certain that he was an expert, a top expert on the same level as Zhao Lishan. Zhao Lishan said, "Young Master Lin, he is Sword Palace's Sword Head." Sword Palace's Sword Head? Lin Fan walked in front of Sword Head and placed his palm on his stomach. Large amounts of faith power turned into Chief God Light and surged into his body. The Darkness Chief God's technique was really amazing, but it consumed large amounts of faith power. God Revival Technique. This was the strongest recovery technique that Lin Fan could use. As he didn't consume any faith power, the God domain in his body had accumulated a large amount of faith power. But at this moment, a large amount was being lost. Maybe this had a lot to do with how strong he was. What is he doing? Zhu Daoshan frowned and didn't understand what Lin Fan was doing. To him, no one could save Sword Head as his mind was on the verge of collapsing. But shortly after, a shocking scene happened. A light covered Sword Head and the cracks on his body started to heal. His injuries also started to turn for the better. "I lack a sword seed, so I will give you one." Lin Fan grabbed with his fingers, and a sword seed appeared in his palm. He shot it into Sword Head's body. Very quickly, the light dissipated and everything returned to normal. Sword Head opened his eyes. Apart from feeling a little weak, he was fine. He was shocked. When he fainted, he felt like the world was spinning. His consciousness was in total darkness and he couldn't see any light at all. But at that moment, the darkness was broken and an eye-catching light chased it away. When he opened his eyes, he saw the people in front of him. Lin Fan smiled. Okay, everything is fine now. You just need to rest and you will be fine. How is that possible? Zhu Daoshan and the others were astonished. To them, this was impossible. Then, all of them looked towards Lin Fan. What did this kid do? Lin Fan felt everyone's gaze on him. He smiled calmly and said, "Don't look at me like that. This is just a very normal operation. I dare not say that I can bring the dead back to life, but as long as they are still breathing, I can save them." Two strongest 9-star generals. Do you have any family members who are about to die? If you do, beg me and I can help you. Zhu Daoshan and Wu Zhiga looked at one another. The two of them exchanged glances. The meaning was clear. This brat had to die. Whoever kept it was a fool. Brat, it's good that you're here. Let's see who else can save you today. Wu Zhiga's killing intent boiled. He had already made up his mind that no matter what, he would kill this brat and not leave any future troubles. Otherwise, one day in the future, they would have to suffer the consequences of their own actions. In an instant, Zhu Daoshan and Wu Zhiga instantly attacked. When two of the strongest 9-star generals attacked, their aura was naturally shocking. It could be said that the slightest bit of carelessness could result in death. Suddenly, space trembled. Zhu Daoshan and Wu Zhiga were shocked. A terrifying thing happened. Right as they attacked Lin Fan, the dimension in the distance opened up. Numerous sword seeds swept out from within and their target was the 9-star generals and generals that they brought with them. Honglong. A destructive power ripped open the sky. The space shattered and the sky turned gray. Screams spread out. The marshals and generals who had followed him here had already suffered heavy injuries. Now that it happened once more, how could they block it? No matter what. Lin Fan's cultivation was at Dao Realm Stage 3, not to mention the sword seeds, which were a killing move. "General, save us!" They shouted loudly with terrified expressions. Some marshals could hold on for a moment, but the impact of the explosions came wave after wave, not giving them a chance to breathe at all. This ghost could hold on. "Jerk, you actually dare to do that!" Zhu Daoshan went mad. He thought about something terrifying. He brought so many people out and only the two of them returned. How was he going to explain that? Lin Fan said towards Zhao Lishan, "Bring them and leave. Leave them to me. Don't worry, it won't be so easy for them to kill me. I have my own way to leave." The moment he said this, before Zhao Lishan said anything, Lin Fan dashed into the distance. He opened his arms and the sword seeds swept forwards. They exploded around Zhu Daoshan and Wu Zhiga. Although the sword seeds were really strong, they weren't much to the strongest 9-star generals. Sword Head looked at those scenes in shock and his mouth was agape. He recognized what this was. This was Sword Palace's secret technique, but he didn't understand how Lin Fan knew it. What terrified him the most was that Lin Fan's sword seeds kept on exploding like they were free. Who could take that? Zhao Lishan was a decisive person. Although he was worried, he knew that young Master Lin had many tricks up his sleeves. Since that was the case, if they didn't listen to his arrangements, then all their efforts would have been for nothing. "Go, let's go." He grabbed Sword Head and waved his sleeve. An aura wrapped up all of them and opened up a dimension tunnel. They want to run. When Wu Zhiga saw Zhao Lishan and the others leave, he hesitated. Zhu Daoshan was furious and hollered, "Don't worry about them. Kill this kid and everything will be worth it." "Okay, you damn kid, you are such a bully." Wu Zhiga was furious because of Lin Fan. He didn't expect this to happen. In the distance, Lin Fan ran the fastest, but so what if he ran fast? He made it sound like he was running slow. Damn. Someone save me. Facing Zhu Daoshan and Wu Zhige, these two strongest 9-star generals, there was nothing he could do. But as the overlord of Yu City, he wasn't afraid of the Alliance's dogs. At most, he would continue to be beaten up. He was thinking of a way to escape. That would work, right? Kid, you won't be able to run. Once I capture you, I will bring you back to the Alliance headquarters and rip you apart. I will dig out your heart, dig out your brain, and suck out your blood. Wu Zhige was really overbearing and his words were really vicious. He was totally infuriated by Lin Fan. He could bear with anyone but Lin Fan. Kiki, that is a little cruel, but don't be anxious. After a period of time, I will put a collar on you and treat you like a dog. I will bring you around the streets of the Alliance. Lin Fan replied. He continued to cause trouble for the two of them. Although it was useless to them, along the way they chased each other. You are asking to die. Wu Zhige didn't expect that he would face such an arrogant person. His heart was about to explode. If one didn't personally experience that rage, one wouldn't be able to understand. At that moment, a shocking aura spread from behind him. Wu Zhige was furious. His fingers turned into a blade and he slashed forwards. The sky was sliced into half and the aura was really violent. Lin Fan's hairs stood on their ends. He knew that Wu Zhige was serious and each time he attacked, he wanted to kill him. Hong Long. An intense explosion rang out in Lin Fan's ears. A shockwave that could destroy everything covered Lin Fan's back. Even if Lin Fan was a dual cultivator, it was tough for him to block such a strike. His back was badly mutilated and fresh blood splattered in the air. Lin Fan sucked in a deep cold breath. It was so painful that his body shivered. Damn. How vicious. But he didn't fear anything. Blood Demon Reversal Technique was enough to recover everything. This technique was just overpowered. Unfortunately, the only secret technique he knew was the Blood Demon Reversal Technique. Ever since then, he hadn't seen any other secret technique. Maybe it was because they were too rare. You want to kill him? Zhu Daoshan was stunned when he saw Wu Zhige's methods. After all, he was really vicious. With Wu Zhige's strength, his attacks weren't easy. Scoff, what else can I do but kill him? Just watch him flee from us? No matter what, just bring his corpse back. Everything else isn't important anymore. Wu Zhige was much more vicious than Zhu Daoshan. It wasn't that he didn't want to capture him alive, but that he was really afraid. If he didn't do anything like before, it would be tough for him to answer to his superiors. The key was that those stupid commoners were just too despicable. They actually dared to scold the strongest 9-star generals. If not for him being afraid of having a bad influence, he would have killed them. Suddenly, Wu Zhige realized that Lin Fan's situation was a little off. Damn, that kid is actually fine. Impossible. Zhu Daoshan didn't believe it. Although that move didn't hit, the shockwave caused his back to become a bloody mess. Even if he didn't die, he would definitely be badly injured. Zhu Daoshan looked at Wu Zhige with a weird expression. You held back. Do you think I will hold back? Forget it, this kid definitely has a way to protect himself, so just go all out and don't worry so much. Wu Zhige said. If someone asked them in the past, would they believe that a Dao Realm Stage 3 kid would be able to escape from their hands? They would definitely laugh out loud and tell them with a smile on their faces. That is a good thought, but don't treat it seriously. Don't say that next time, otherwise it will be an insult to us. But now, Lin Fan was only at Dao Realm Stage 3 and he was fleeing right under their noses. Moreover, they weren't able to do anything to him. To them, this was an insult, a huge insult. How should I escape? Lin Fan was in deep thought and didn't know what to do. It was really difficult to escape from the hands of two of the strongest 9-star generals. Destroying the dimension, intercepting him, those were all normal methods. Maybe only when they didn't notice would he be able to sneak away. But just thinking about it, He knew that it was impossible. How was it so simple? You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.